A chance to win. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Harwood. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hid me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again. You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 12 o'clock on Friday, the 12th of, what is it? June? It's June still.
It is still June.
Well, of course, it is defence in the spotlight. 2 ministerial resignations from Keir Starmer's government. This is what the Defence Minister, the former Defence Minister, Al Carnes, told GB News.
I resigned for 2 reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the Defence Investment Plan was transformative enough. And the second one was because of the Legacy Act. And I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served. So we've got to get the balance right. But the first principle, unifying role of any government, is to protect the nation. And we need to do that properly.
So will the Prime Minister receive the message and increase defence spending?
Elsewhere, Britain's economy has contracted for the first time in 8 months. This after the government boasted of GDP growth last quarter. Now, GDP has shrunk by 0.1% in April. This in the context of the Iran war.
And Belfast awakens after a third night of protests as it's revealed the asylum seeker charged with attempted murder was a policeman in his home country of Sudan.
Elsewhere, a pill version of the fat jab, yes, that blockbuster weight loss drug Wegovy, is set to go on sale here in the United Kingdom.
And meanwhile, come on England, England fans are being warned not to hang St George's flags as councils attempt to maintain a welcoming and cohesive community feel.
And as with all bagpipes, you can't tell if it's terrible music being played well or good music being played terribly. Well, the Scots have arrived for the World Cup. Footage shows fans checking into an Airbnb, celebrating the only way they know how. Yes, bagpipes at 6:30 in the morning.
I like bagpipes. In any case, a museum built around Brunel's famous SS Great Britain is dropping the engineer's name as part of a major rebrand. The Bristol attraction says it wants to be focused more on diversity, but is this another example of woke heritage?
And, of course, we'll be paying tribute to the artist David Hockney, who has died at the age of 88. Hockney has been described as one of the most important figures in contemporary art in both the 20th and 21st centuries. I like a bit of pop art.
David Hockney, he was amazing. You would love David Hockney because the last exhibition he did, every single thing in it was done on an iPad.
Yeah.
Literally every single... He didn't touch a paintbrush or a pencil, he just did it all on an iPad. Absolutely amazing.
It shows the sort of eras that he's spanned. I mean, when did he come to prominence? I mean, I think it was the 1960s.
Yes, it was the 1960s.
So
that famous splash picture, do you remember that one?
Yes.
Diving into the swimming pool, everybody loves that one.
But from the 1960s to the 2020s, what an era of relevance. So many different... I mean, it's sort of almost the background of everyone's lives.
Yeah, pretty much. He's been a consistent, and the art is just so accessible, and I think that's what he wanted. I mean, he did the brilliant trees and forests and farms and things, and it was just instantly accessible. There was no pretending it meant something else, or it was just like literally what you see is what you get, and I think that's what he wanted to do as well, to make art accessible to everybody, even idiots like me.
And I think that's what art should be as well. Sometimes art is a bit inaccessible or perhaps too elite. Art that you have to have a degree to understand what it actually means. And I think that's... I think this very strongly with architecture as well. If you have to spend 7 years at some sort of institution to learn why this looks good, maybe it doesn't look good.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree. But some art is very, very understandable, isn't it, Tom?
Oh, yeah?
Especially art that happens on whiteboards.
Oh, very much so. Well, perhaps there'll be a little bit of that later in the programme. Yes, we'll be bringing back the famous GBNews touchscreen.
Because it is a Friday. Come on, it's a Friday, people. I mean, the news might be grim this week. Politics might be completely and utterly bonkers. We might not have any defence in the country, but hey, it's a Friday. And it's the World Cup on. I mean, you know, come on, what's not that? And we've got bagpipes.
Is that why you're wearing red?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
No, it's Red's turn.
Right, OK.
Yeah, it's red turn. What colour's that? Blue?
This is sort of... It's a pink shirt and a blue tie. And if you look very closely, there are green dots on it.
Green and pink? They're opposite on the colour, aren't they?
They are, but, I mean, you can't really see the green dots unless you zoom in to a ridiculous extent. Let's stop talking about our sartorial choices and head... we should say, comments very welcome, of course, gbnews.com/you'll say. But let's get to Sophia and the latest headlines.
Good afternoon. It's just gone 12 o'clock. These are your headlines. British artist David Hockney has died at the age of 88, his publicist has announced today. Hockney from Bradford in West Yorkshire died peacefully at his home yesterday, 1 month short of his 89th birthday. The painter was one of the most influential and recognisable British artists of the 20th and 21st century. Sir Keir Starmer is facing fresh pressure after Armed Forces Minister Al Khans followed John Healey in resigning over military funding. The former defence minister said he could not defend a level of investment he believes is inadequate to the threat Britain faces. Speaking to GB News this morning, Mr Carnes said the first priority of the government should always be to protect the nation.
I resigned for two reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the defence investment plan was transformative enough. And the second one was because of the Legacy Act. And I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served.
John Healey had already resigned as Defence Secretary, accusing the Prime Minister and Treasury of failing to properly fund the Defence Investment Plan. Number 10 has appointed Dan Jarvis as the new Defence Secretary. He was seen arriving at Downing Street this morning, while Sir Keir Starmer has insisted the Defence Plan will provide the resources the military needs. Reports have since emerged that the reason for capping defence spending is the government's commitment to net zero spending and the ballooning benefits bill. Donald Trump has said he cancelled planned strikes on Iran after claiming a deal is now close. The US president said documents could be signed within days and that Iran has agreed it will never have a nuclear weapon. He says the Strait of Hormuz would reopen once any agreement is signed. It comes after the US confirmed strikes on several ships accused of transporting Iranian oil. However, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson told state TV that reports of an agreement were speculative and nothing has been finalised. The economy shrank in April as household finances began to feel the impact of the Iran war. The UK's gross domestic product contracted by 0.1% during the month, according to the Office for National Statistics. It's the first time the economy has contracted since last August and is a sharp pullback from growth of 0.3% in March and 0.4% in February. Chancellor Rachel Reeves acknowledged the war in the Middle East was hitting the economy, saying this is not a war we wanted or joined, but one that will have an impact at home. Protests in Northern Ireland passed peacefully last night after 2 days of unrest sparked by the stabbing of Stephen Ogilvie by a Sudanese man. The Police Service of Northern Ireland said extra officers, including mutual aid officers from other UK forces, had been deployed across Northern Ireland last night amid concerns about further violence. 30-year-old Hadi Aladid appeared in court on Wednesday, charged with the attempted murder of 44-year-old Mr Ogilvie, who lost an eye and suffered injuries to his back and neck in the attack. It has since been reported Aladid served as a policeman in Khartoum. More than 70 people have been evacuated from their homes after a large fire tore through a warehouse in northwest London overnight. 150 firefighters and 25 fire engines were deployed to the scene on Oxgate Lane in Brent, following more than 70 emergency calls from the public. The London Fire Brigade confirmed on Friday morning that the blaze has now been brought under control. Ariana Grande has told the White House not to use her music after it did so in a social media post highlighting its immigration policy. The video was posted showing officers placing handcuffs on people, ushering them into cars and placing them into detention centres. The US pop star commented on the video, calling it barbaric, inhumane and heinous nonsense. In response to this, a White House spokesperson told US media, "What's actually barbaric, inhumane and heinous are the criminal illegal aliens who have injured and murdered innocent American citizens." The song used on the post has since been muted and the comments have been removed. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for the finance.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3410 US and 1.1587 euros. The price of gold is £3,139 per ounce and the FTSE 100's at 10,421 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10 minutes past midday. And the former Defence Minister, Al Carnes, has told GB News we need to defend our nation properly. This follows his resignation last night.
I've been clear that we need more into defence. I've been clear that the defence investment plan needs to be more transformative. But we've got to be really careful of making sure that the nation can get a good day's work, can get paid for a good day's work, that they can have a secure NHS, they have good schooling, good public services. And a lot of that is not about cutting the things that affect your lives and everybody else's lives on a day-to-day basis. So we've got to get the balance right. But the first principle, unifying role of any government, is to protect the nation. And we need to do that properly.
Yes, he called on the government to consider making cuts to welfare reform to help fund defence, while failing to rule out a potential bid for the Labour leadership and the keys to number 10.
Well, let's dissect this all now with our political correspondent, Olivia Utley, who joins us live in the studio. Olivia, that's a pretty stark thing for Al Khan's to say, that perhaps it should be welfare that should be cut in order to fund this defence spending.
Yes, and he's not the first person to have had that idea. Both opposition parties, well, the Conservatives and Reform, have been pushing for this for a very long time. It was a brutal interview that Al Khan's did on GBNews this morning, and it was a brutal resignation letter that John Healey sent last night. This is a major, major blow for the Prime Minister, and I don't think it can be overestimated. John Healey was a safe pair of hands in Westminster. He was the man who was always wheeled out when the government was in trouble because he had so much experience, because he was such an arch Starmer loyalist. He would have been very low down on the list that if I was creating a list of ministers who might resign in the Starmer government, John Healey would be close to the bottom of it. The reasons that they gave for resigning were that the defence investment plan just simply wasn't transformative enough, as Al Khan's put it. In his resignation letter, John Healey went into a bit more detail. Essentially, what happened was that he was promised and expected something in the region of £17 billion worth of investment for defence. When the defence investment plan landed in full on his desk only on Monday, he found out that actually the government was promising £10 billion in cash, plus another £3.5 billion in sort of treasury trickery, money which doesn't quite exist, is going to be backloaded towards the end of the next Parliament, not money for now. That would only put defence spending up to 2.6% next year, 2.68% the year after that. Now, defence specialists, army chiefs, etc., have been saying for a very long time it needs to be 3% yesterday. It needs to be 3.5% by 2030. And John Healey simply decided that he couldn't hack it anymore. He has been replaced by Dan Jarvis, who has a strong military career. He's a very well-respected MP in Parliament, actually on both sides of the House. The question is, why has he accepted what appears to be a pretty poisoned chalice? Does he think it's simply that someone has to do the job and, better him than anyone else? In which case, is he willing to accept the defence investment plan in its current form? That seems to me relatively unlikely. Why would you, as Defence Secretary, be prepared to come in and essentially rubber stamp a document, having had no time to even have a proper look at it? Or does he want to make changes to the defence investment plan? Is he thinking that Labour MPs might now be willing to start moving on that welfare reform to free up a bit more money for defence? If the latter is the case, then you've got to wonder, why didn't Keir Starmer, if he's going to move now and give a little bit more money to defence, why did he not do it before losing a loyal and solid minister?
Olivia, the one thing I can't understand with this, in the very same week that we are scrabbling around for sort of like billions of pounds for defence, which I think everyone would agree is really important, we announced, or the government announced, that they're spending £4.5 billion on new cycle pathways. I mean, surely priorities. I mean, cycle pathways, yeah, they're lovely, they're wonderful. I'm a cyclist. However, you can't use them if you're being bombed by Russia.
Well, it's a very, very good question. And some people in Labour have suggested that actually this points again to Keir Starmer's lack of sort of political nous. He doesn't seem to grasp the urgency of the situation. And lots of people in the defence industry have said that the problem with Keir Starmer is decisions which should have taken days, urgent decisions on the defence investment plan, ended up taking weeks just sitting there on his desk while he deliberated, while he thought about the process, rather than making sort of snappy political decisions. And that's why the defence investment plan has been delayed for as long as it has. It was supposed to come out last autumn. We're now in June. It'll be fascinating to see what happens now. Keir Starmer has promised repeatedly that we will see that investment plan before the G7 summit. That is now in a few months' time. He has very, very little wiggle room if the new Defence Secretary wants to make any changes at all.
I mean, this is going to be a real moment that the Prime Minister might not be able to get past. I mean, it does seem like there is this slow-motion implosion of this premiership. I mean, it was only last month that we saw that wave of resignations culminating in Wes Streeting leaving the government. Things went quiet for a while, but it does seem like behind the scenes, this discontent, whether it's on defence, whether it's on leadership, whether it's on, frankly, getting to grip with the country's finances at all, that's been rumbling along in the background.
It certainly has, and there have been 22 ministers and PPSs who've resigned from Keir Starmer's government in less than 2 years.
23 months.
Exactly.
Astonishing.
I mean, it is astonishing. As you say, it does a little bit feel as though Keir Starmer's grip on power is getting shakier and shakier. That said, the Prime Minister seems absolutely determined to fight on. He said that if there is to be a leadership contest, then he intends to fight it. It'll be fascinating to see what he does in the next couple of months. I think maybe we're heading for a big cabinet shake-up to try and change the narrative a little bit to another... well, I can't remember what he calls it, but when he tries to start again, a reset, that's the word, Tom, thank you. So maybe that's the plan for the next couple of months. He is determined to fight on. He says he's got a big mandate from the electorate to do so.
Yeah. Well, I think the front page of the Daily Mail sums it up today. God help us. I mean, to me, as a tabloid person, that's the perfect headline.
Yeah.
God help us. That's not even a political point. That is like, we need someone to defend this country. We don't have anyone.
No.
To me, it seems like the Prime Minister is in some kind of thrall to Rachel Reeves and Ed Miliband.
Well, Olivia Utley, thank you very much indeed. Let's speak now to the former Royal Navy and Defence infrastructure expert, Richard Davies. Richard, I want to put to you the other side of the case. I've been reading what some left-wing commentators have been saying over the course of the last 24 hours, and they say, how likely is it that the Russian bombs rain down on Birmingham, Manchester and London? How likely is it that Russia actually... I mean, they couldn't even take Kiev. They're not going to be able to come through and come across the English Channel and take... We are insulated by a dozen European countries that will all defend themselves. How much do we actually need to worry about this stuff?
Well, I think for a historical concept, you've got to question whether or not European allies can be relied upon 100%. You know, there were questions about NATO first and foremost, but the big lesson that came out of the Strategic Defence Review was that we are moving from a kind of counterinsurgency world where you'd put people around and solve dramatic little problems to really two large state actors, and that's China and Russia. And we need to move to a point where we have the technology and the infrastructure to do that. And that means the boring side, it's the logistics, it's the procurement chains, it's all the things along the line, none of which can be turned on rapidly. That was the lesson from the beginning of the First World War. You know, you can talk about your professional armed forces all you like, but in the event of one of these cataclysmic war outbreaks, that isn't going to save you long term.
And Richard, the point of this is we're talking about sort of like things that sort of like need to happen now, and nothing in the military happens fast. I mean, even if somebody in government does get their finger out, and I'm not holding my breath on this one, we're still talking about 5-10 years to rebuild our armed forces.
And this is exactly part of the problem. You nail it on the head there. You know, when we looked at kind of 10 years ago, people were talking about drones and AI in a very minimal sense. The lesson of the Ukraine is that these, you know, the Ukrainian guys out there, and I've spoken to many of them, they're changing the way they do things on a daily basis. We're stuck with a Ministry of Defence procurement system that takes 15, 20 years even to design a new piece of equipment. I actually think, with the greatest of respect to Al Khans and the various people involved, we're missing the point in this debate. The problem actually isn't who the Secretary of State Defence is. To a certain extent, it's not really who the Prime Minister is. The problem is we have a broken Ministry of Defence procurement system. It's been ingressed by the managerial class. It's all about process. It's no longer fit for purpose. It's not delivering. It's not buying anything. You know, we could list, you know, the new Type 45s, Ajax. You will be familiar with them. Yes. I'm sure they've been in the headlines. None of these things are delivered quickly, and you're up against who knows what the next threat's going to be.
To some extent, then, are we focusing too much on money and not enough on outcomes? I mean, it's all very well and good spending an extra 10, 20, 30 billion pounds on defence, but if this is going on, is it trite to compare this to HS2? I mean, it's not a better railway because we've spent more money on it. It would be a better railway to some extent if we spent less money on it.
Look at the comparison across the channel, and I hate to big up the French, I'll be honest, but they spend less than we do. They have more planes. They have an independent nuclear deterrent. They have a huge amount more manpower. So the really question is not, should we be spending more than what £60 billion a year we're spending? We should first and foremost be asking, what are we getting for our £60 billion? Because there are a lot of gaps and a lot of big questions as to whether we're getting value for money. And if you talk to anybody like me who runs a small defence company, they'll tell you we're not getting good value for money.
Although can two things be true at the same time? Is it possible, given the threats that we face, is it possible to do both? To completely overhaul the broken way that we procure the necessary, I don't know, tanks and planes and ships and drones and whatever else, but also think we need a hell of a lot more of this stuff?
It starts at the top, doesn't it? And this is where Keir Starmer ultimately is responsible as Prime Minister. He is responsible and the chain of command below him. But I think we should not shy away from looking at the heads of service, the defence chiefs, and saying they are culpable for the problems we are enduring because they're fighting a Cold War. We're not in a Cold War anymore in that sense. We're in a far more progressive, more varied environment. And we need to stop talking about what do we need in 20 years' time. We need to be thinking about what do we need in 2 months' time.
And Richard, we've talked about the mechanics, we've talked about the money, but there's a human cost involved here. I mean, if we carry on at this rate, the small number of armed forces we have left, we're putting those men and women's lives at risk, should, a war happen, in whatever shape or form it takes.
Record departures from the armed forces. My old service, the Royal Navy, is seeing huge numbers of people leaving because the strain on those that are left behind becomes greater and greater. Deployments at sea, for example, have gone up. More people are spending months and months away from sea. And even here in Lincolnshire, which is, RAF, Bomber County, very proud of it, it's increasingly difficult for families to live in a slightly normal way because they're being pulled the short amount of manpower we've got from pillar to post and working in extraordinary difficult conditions. And I have to say, the men and women in our armed forces do an incredible job, but there is a limit to how much stress you can put on them.
OK.
Richard, are you worried? Are you worried about where we're going with this? I mean, we're all talking about the politics and we've got the politicians sitting in their ivory towers going, we want money for green issues, we want money for the NHS, we want money for this and that. But are you concerned about what's actually happening?
As Alkan said, the first function of the state is to protect the realm. The Strategic Defence Review actually did a good job in highlighting it. What's really worrying me and many, many others is the kind of the mechanics of making that happen just aren't there. And I worry when we get into debates like this that we're focusing on Alkan's, for example, his fantastic military career. I won't take that away from him, but that's that isn't going to make sure that there's enough 7.62 ammunition going into the weapons.
It's a very important point, and no doubt there'll be more to say on this in the coming days and weeks whenever we do see this defence investment plan. But Richard Davies, thanks very much indeed for joining us, Defence Infrastructure Expert.
Thank you. Well, evidently it was finalised on Monday. And it was all ready to go, and then...
But isn't the most extraordinary thing? The Defence Secretary hadn't seen the final thing, and it was plonked on his desk, and he was just expected to rubber stamp it.
Yeah.
That shows a lot about how our government works, about how it's not actually the Cabinet Ministers, in many cases, doing the detail of these decisions. They are presented this stuff by the civil service as a fait accompli and expected to march along and say, yes, this is my plan, when they haven't had a hand in it.
It's absolutely terrifying. And because please do let us know what you think. Are you being cheered up on this Friday morning by what you're hearing at gbnews.com/you'll say. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's lots more coming up on today's show, though.
Yes, Britain's economy has shrunk for the first time since last August, this amid surging fuel prices.
You were meant to be cheering them up at that point, Tom.
Oh well. Well, this is Bad Afternoon Britain. Sorry, Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. Do stay with us.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 27 minutes past midday.
Yes, and it's not really good afternoon, Britain. It's slightly depressing afternoon, Britain, at the moment, because Britain's economy has shrunk for the first time since last August.
Yes, GDP fell by 0.1% in April, with the impact of the Iran war beginning to filter through.
Yeah, Rachel Reeves, yes, she's still around, admits the conflict is already having an effect. So could Britain now be heading for recession?
Well, we're joined now by the economist at the Adam Smith Institute, Mitchell Palmer. Mitchell, I'm old enough to remember 2 months ago when Treasury ministers toured television studios saying, look at our Q1 figures, look how strong our growth is, we've turned a corner. This is now what we're in for the long haul. Britain is growing again. And now we get another number and it's a minus.
Okay.
Absolutely, and this is why governments should shouldn't parade around monthly GDP reads as a great sign of success. The reality is these figures move around from month to month. They're often revised. What we do know, though, is when we look at the longer-term trends, and those are more consistent, more reliable, there has been no substantial uptick in growth under this government. Equally, since 2008, real per capita incomes in this country have basically been flat. So effectively, we are jumping around a flat line. And I think people at home will feel that in their living standards. And of course, energy shocks are one of those things that push us below that flat line every so often, because this country is unusually exposed to foreign energy shocks.
Yeah, Mitchell, because we don't produce any of our own, do we? Mitchell, so other governments kind of, not for the first time, it has to be said, taking us for fools. It's like, look, marvellous, marvellous. We've grown a little bit. Oh, we've shrunk a little bit. We've grown a little bit. Do they really think we're so stupid we don't actually understand that it's like pretty much the same and it doesn't actually make any difference to any of us in any case?
I think the government is searching for good news, effectively. You know, they obviously are under a substantial amount of pressure from every which direction. And when a number does, you know, pop up out of thin air that supports their narrative, they will, of course, use it. They're politicians. You can't expect anything different. But I think it's for the rest of us to sort of, you know, look through the spin and realise that the economy has basically not moved since this government came in, but equally, if we look at it on a per-person basis, hasn't really moved since the global financial crisis.
I mean, this is the significant thing here. I mean, the government is going to blame the Iran war for everything. But before the war, we were getting these same sort of numbers. I mean, month after month, we've been reporting, oh, it's a little bit above zero. Oh, it's a little bit below zero. It's basically been zero for years. And frankly, does the government actually understand how much of a crisis this is? I mean, we were just talking about defence. There's no money for defence. Well, there's no money for anything because the economy isn't growing. This is what's leading to the political instability, to the lack of defence, frankly, to the perma-crisis this country seems to be in.
Absolutely, and not to, you know, bring in an even bigger tone of pessimism, but this is perhaps the best it will ever get, because as the population ages, we will naturally see per capita GDP shrink because, of course, people will be retiring and leaving the workforce. So either we've got effectively two hopes if we don't change policy. Hope one is that we basically continue to use immigration to keep the public finances supported, and I don't think that's likely to be either popular or possible, given the reality that the UK somehow manages to pick the least fiscally positive immigrants possible, or AI will save us all, and we will replace a growing, retiring population with more and more AI agents. But
Mitchell, on that point, that might be brilliant for the few people that control the AI. For everyone that loses their jobs because AI can now be much more capable and do many other things, this is going to look like a world of two halves. And we know where the data centres are, where the AI is actually held, and the vast majority of it is in the United States of America, where there is the energy and the willingness to build. I mean, how many data centres have we actually built in this country? How much AI infrastructure do we actually have in this country? In a world where AI does most jobs, Britain is almost uniquely exposed.
Absolutely, especially given that our jobs are highly concentrated in the knowledge and services sector. So those are the ones most exposed. Now, I don't think that AI will lead to mass unemployment in the long run. But of course, in the short run, while we're all adjusting to the new jobs the robots can do and the new jobs that we're going to do, that's going to be pretty painful. Especially, as you say, Tom, for a country that doesn't have the other side of that equation, doesn't have the data centres, doesn't have the energy companies that will be earning the money on the other side. Now, of course, there is some bright spot here. Of course, there is an increasing AI, second base to Silicon Valley that is being built, for instance, in King's Cross. Although the reason it's being built there, which is quite depressing, is that British salaries are so much lower than the US. So effectively, Anthropic and DeepMind are moving jobs to the UK because even top-end UK technical talent is cheaper than American top-end technical talent.
I mean, some of the salaries that have been going in Silicon Valley, I saw salaries that were hundreds of millions of dollars for some of these top AI people that Mark Zuckerberg was trying to poach from OpenAI. We're going down a rabbit hole here, but it is so important. I think it's hard to overstate how much the world might change in just the next 3 or 4 years.
I'm just going to pull you both out of this rabbit hole, gentlemen. I'm sorry. We have run out of time. Mitchell, thank you so much. That's Mitchell Palmer from the Adam Smith Institute there. And little full disclosure here, people. Tom's little rant about AI just now. Tom, what did you spend yesterday doing? Read the entire book on AI and the future, didn't you?
I read a very depressing forecast about how in the next 5 years, sort of this part of the world will sink into irrelevance if we don't have AI infrastructure here as more and more jobs are replaced. And I think not enough people are talking about what is coming.
You're talking about it a lot.
I'll be honest, I'm feeling rather existential because things in this world are about to change in an enormous way, and there's no way to say that without sounding like a crazy person. So now I'm going to stop talking.
Let me know what you think about that particular viewpoint, the crazy person bit. Yeah, so now you know why he went off on one of Tom's tangents. Any case, we have got some good news, haven't we, now?
We do indeed, yes. It's the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pants? Pants? Yes, we're giving away 76,000 pants. No, we're giving around 76,000 pounds and 21 pence. Now, this is all tax-free, and my goodness me, I'm going to stop talking about it. Here's Hayley Sparks, who can speak with all the details.
There's just 2 weeks left to make your summer sensational, as we're giving you the chance to win a simply stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash. That's cash that could go towards family treats, spectacular summer days out, or give you the chance to chill out and relax somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. You really could be our next big winner with a whopping £76,543 and 21 pence in your bank. But hurry, there's just 2 weeks remaining.
For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. That's some thong for everyone there, isn't it? Thong, get it after your pants.
Very good.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's lots more still to come.
And we do have...
I'm not going to change my principles for anybody or anything.
OK. We do have some good news at some point during this. It's going terribly well so far, isn't it?
Well, Al Khan's has, of course, resigned from the government. The man you heard speaking there, Sir Keir Starmer, is being accused of putting Britain in danger. Well, all of that and more to come after your latest headlines.
Good afternoon. Your headlines at 12:37. British artist David Hockney has died at the age of 88. Hockney from Bradford in West Yorkshire died peacefully at his home yesterday, 1 month short of his 89th birthday. Sir Keir Starmer is facing fresh pressure after Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's followed John Healey in resigning over military funding. Meanwhile, the newly appointed Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis, has arrived in Downing Street this morning, while Sir Keir Starmer has insisted the defence plan will provide the resources the military needs. US President Donald Trump has said he cancelled planned strikes on Iran, claiming a deal is now close, saying Iran has agreed it will never have a nuclear weapon. The UK economy contracted by 0.1% in April as household finances began to feel the impact of the Iran war. The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, could be set to become the world's first trillionaire. Today, Mr. Musk's company, SpaceX, is set to become a publicly traded company with $75 billion worth of shares sold at $135 each. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A drier afternoon with some sunny spells around to come, but there will be further showers, particularly across far northern areas. That's because we're closer to this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, high pressure is starting to build in across more southern areas, but there is a waving front bringing some thicker cloud, at least through the first part of this afternoon. But it will start to brighten up from the west, particularly across parts of Wales and northern England, seeing plenty of sunshine too. Remaining quite cloudy though in the south and east, and showers and some quite brisk westerly winds will continue into this evening across the far north. Temperatures will climb towards the low 20s, 23 degrees in the south and east, feeling relatively warm in the sunshine for parts of the Midlands and parts of Wales as well into this evening. So a fairly fine end to the working week. There is a bit of a breeze, a westerly wind into this evening though, and further north into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, there will be more cloud and some quite heavy showers across western and northern areas of Scotland in particular, and the winds remain quite strong here too this evening. Now, showers will continue across more northern areas into tonight. Elsewhere, it remains dry and clear. We could see some mist and fog developing across the far south and west by Saturday morning, but otherwise it's going to be a fairly clear night, which will allow temperatures to fall away a little bit lower than they have done the past couple of nights. So it's going to be a slightly fresher start to the day on Saturday, particularly across southern areas, but temperatures still around 11 or 12 degrees to start the weekend. And high pressure is building in, particularly across the south throughout this weekend. So there will be more sunshine than we've had so far this week and much less in the way of rain. But it's still going to be quite a wet and unsettled day for the far north of Scotland. In particular, showers pushing in on a northerly breeze. So comparatively, it's going to be quite cool up here compared to elsewhere where temperatures climb into the 20s.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A77 is partially blocked northbound near Dutch House roundabout due to a traffic incident. On the M25 anti-clockwise in Kent, a crash between Junction 3 and Junction 2 restricts one lane, causing 20-minute delays. The A55 Britannia Bridge has a speed limit of 30 miles per hour due to maintenance. The M4 westbound collision and M6 northbound breakdown have cleared. And on the trains, major disruption affects South Western Railway between Bournemouth and Weymouth, with no trains between Brockenhurst and Lymington Pier, while Avanti West Coast faces delays between Nuneaton and Rugby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 42 minutes past midday, and we're going to go live to Downing Street now. Christopher Hope has just left a briefing with the Prime Minister's official spokesman. Christopher, this is the first time that you've spoken to an official Downing Street briefing since these resignations.
That's right, of John Healey. He resigned around 12:15 yesterday lunchtime, immediately after the briefing we have daily with the Prime Minister's spokesman when Parliament is sitting. And then in the evening, of course, Al Khan's quit. Now, we'll hear from Al Khan's shortly, but just quickly to that briefing with the Downing Street spokesman. We are told that work to finalise this vexed, this difficult, this contested defence investment plan is continuing at pace, we're told, with the new Defence Secretary, of course, Dan Jarvis. That's from number 10. The PM is now working on what they call a significant reallocation of funding to make the right choices on defence spending. What that means in layman's terms, it's cuts across the board to capital spending. Will that mean cuts to hospitals, schools, roads? Will it mean cuts to the benefits budget? Will it mean cuts to the net zero target budget? We'll wait and see on that, but they are looking now on cuts, and that will be controversial in coming weeks. The PM spokesman told us the government was proud of its record on defence spending and said it had cut the international aid budget last year, and a sign of those tough choices, of course. That time Annalise Dodds resigned as the aid secretary. This time, of course, we're seeing John Healey resign, and earlier today Al Khan's. No word on where the cuts will be made. and with this DIP, this Defence Investment Plan, will be published before the NATO summit. That is the commitment. Here's what Al Carnes, though, who's a former Armed Forces Minister, resigned last night. Here's what he said, because so much of this is tied up now in the leadership and the future of Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister.
Well, I'd say politics is what you think, but it's also how you feel. And I'm not going to change my principles for anybody or anything. And I want to protect this country. I want to make sure that people that serve and have served and their families are well looked after. But also I want to take this country by the scruff of its neck and make it great again and move it in the right direction. And that's why I've taken a stance out of government to help jiggle the system along.
Al Carnes there. Now, we are expecting to hear from Sir Keir Starmer later today. We'll bring you the latest from any interview he gives to broadcasters as soon as we get it. And just finally, on the issue of veterans, the PM spokesman said there are strong protections in the Veterans Bill. The concern that Al Carnes had, he said he almost resigned twice over this issue of protections for veterans who served in Northern Ireland. They say the government has been liaising with veteran groups to get it right.
OK, Christopher, thank you so much. That's GB News political editor Christopher Hope outside Downing Street for us.
Now, some technical language for you. Have you heard of GLP-1s? Well, you might more commonly hear of them as fat jabs like Ozempic or Wegovy, or even Mounjaro. Well, now a pill version of this jab has been approved.
Yeah, it's going to take the form of a once-daily tablet, and it's the first treatment of its kind to be cleared by the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency.
So how much of a breakthrough is this? Well, we're joined now by the pharmacist and health expert Thoron Govind. Thoron, thanks indeed for being with us here in the studio. This seems like a big step forward.
I think it's a positive step forward because at the moment many of those weight loss injections, and they are injections, are not tolerated by a lot of patients. So the ability to offer a pill is going to benefit a lot of people, but I just don't want it to be seen as a magic pill.
This is the problem with both the injections and the pill. You sort of you don't learn what is actually going on. You just rely on that. So when's it going to be available? Is it expensive?
OK. So the Medicines Health and Regulatory Agency check on a baseline safety of all products before they are approved for use in the UK. So this pill will be available from private providers, but before it's available on the NHS, NICE have to evaluate it. They're a body and they look into how much cost and also effectiveness. So that's going to be their first job. So it's going to be available privately before we see it on the NHS. But what I'm most concerned about as a pharmacist is counterfeiters and the black market, because this is going to be much easier for them to be able to target vulnerable people.
And that's currently a problem because the vast majority of people who use these medicines are getting them privately. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. These are sort of miracle medicines. I mean, for the longest time, people have claimed that, oh, you can stop being fat with this, that, or that. This is something that actually works, and we can see it in society. The number of people who've just reduced in weight, it's kind of magical.
I won't say they're a miracle. I do think they are clinically proven, and that's what I focus on as a healthcare professional, as a pharmacist. Now, a third of UK adults are obese, so we know we've got a huge problem. The NHS is spending billions on obesity-related issues. So if there is a way forward which is going to support these patients, and we know that at the moment, even with the NHS cohort, not everyone is covered with that. So people are going to be going privately and are going privately. But it does come at a cost. These are about £120 to £375 a month, some of these injections. What we know about in the US is it's about £110 a pill. So will we see a reduction in price? I think there'll be a tiny reduction in price here compared to an injection. I'm not sure we're going to see those huge drop in costs.
That's quite a lot of money as well. Thoron, for now, thank you so much for joining us. That's pharmacist and health expert Thoron Govind there.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more still to come.
Yes, a museum built around Brunel's famous SS Great Britain is dropping its name, and you won't believe why.
But in the meantime, if you're in search of some holiday sun, perhaps not to sail away, but to fly, well, here's some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to the weekend and across much of southern Europe, the weather's looking largely fine. Not totally dry, however. Across some parts of Greece, especially towards the south and around some of the Greek islands, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain around. 1 or 2 showers across parts of Italy, otherwise largely dry. Largely dry for much of Spain, just towards the west. Outbreaks of rain, these affecting Portugal too, but towards Madeira and the Canary Islands, it's looking dry here. More fine and at times hot weather to come into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
If you're working in collaboration, one with an excellent script, with an excellent director, with an excellent lighting cameraman, and hopefully an excellent actor, there is a moment when all of those energies join and a certain kind of magic is revealed. And one can see that in so many great performances that one can see on films that, of course, are not AI generated. I mean, I ask myself the question, could an AI generated film be as good as Apocalypse Now or The Godfather?
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I had a call with the producer of The Godfather just 2 days ago about how we can work together using AI. So he thinks that it's another tool in the sandbox, that you cannot replace human creativity.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Baking award-winning biscuits. Sawley Kitchen handcraft a variety of shortbreads, cookies and ginger thins. And the North Yorkshire Bakery is celebrating National Biscuit Day.
I mean, a whole day dedicated to the biscuit. Like, you have to, right? We take traditional biscuits like cookies, ginger thins, and put our own spin on it. And I'd probably say that ginger thins are the most popular. When you snap it, that noise is amazing.
Down the road from the bakery, we asked the people of Ripon for their opinion.
Well, it's probably a Jaffa cake, but that might be a bit controversial, mightn't it? Because some people say it's not a biscuit, but that's my favourite. I always used to have it when I used to go and visit my nan when I was a kid.
Definitely a chocolate hobnob. It's comforting. And no, I'm not a dunker.
GB News, the People's Channel. Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
The travellers have arrived at the cricket pitch, and let's be frank, they're not very welcome. Seems to be a pattern of just taking over public land like this, and should that stop?
If you try to book onto a campsite, i.e. a regular campsite with tents and there's shower facilities, etc., where tents, caravans go, motorhomes, your point blank will be turned down as a group. It's just impossible to get onto a campsite. I can appreciate it's a cricket field, but that's what they're doing. They're camping because they've got nowhere else to go.
OK, well, let's get the Formula 8 boss MP and Graham Jones on now. Graham Jones, it's not cricket, is it?
Volunteers spend hours cleaning these places up. They spend hours investing in them, and then to have them just turned into a rubbish dump or not be able to use. And in this case and in other cases, the abuse that you receive is just incredible. I mean, it's just not acceptable.
The People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 8 minutes to 1 o'clock, and a historic museum dedicated to Brunel's famous steamship, the SS Great Britain, is changing its name, which has sparked debate online.
The attraction will now be known as, brace yourself, Bristol Dockyards. And they say a greater emphasis on themes such as migration, diversity and the British Empire will take part.
Well, supporters say it's about telling a broader story, but critics are arguing it's another example of British, British prowess being rowed back upon.
Yeah, don't you dare be British, how very dare you. Any case, let's talk to political commentator Benedict Spence. Benedict, what do you make of this story? It seems we have one a day at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's been ongoing like this for a couple of years now, frankly. But in many ways, the fact that we keep on having these sorts of stories drip-fed into our lives is a sign of just how much heritage we have to denigrate, which is a sort of a positive thing, I suppose, that we don't run out of things that we decide to trash. But obviously, listen, some of the reasoning for the renaming of this museum is partly, of course, down to branding, to recognition, changing it to Bristol Dockyards. They say is just going to be better for business because they've lost a lot of business since the end of the COVID pandemic, but also some of the reasoning that's been given, things to do with people not understanding what the initials SS stands for, and it just makes you exasperated.
Well, you know, people suggesting that it's the same SS of the Nazi stormtroopers.
Fortunately, people are not quite that stupid. Apparently, people believe that SS stands not for steamship, but for slave ship. This is the reason that's been given by the museum, apparently. So, you know, that's reassuring, though. But you would have thought, actually, that's the point of having a museum, so that people who have misconceptions can come and learn, rather than be put off by the idea that there might be a slave ship. But, you know, if that was something that put people off, then the Museum of Modern Slavery in Liverpool would presumably have to shut because people will go, oh, slavery, don't like the sound of that. I mean, are people really that thick? I don't want to speculate.
I mean, isn't one of the problems here, though, because what the museum officially says is people think it's just about the ship, but there's a lot more to the dockyards here. Actually, it's a whole day attraction. It's not just one ship that you're coming to see. There's so much more to the museum. I mean, is there a more innocent explanation here?
I suspect that this is a reason. I suspect that the decision has been taken in the round, yes. And I think that it's probably one of those things where those sorts of queries about misunderstandings about what the ship might have been or branding may have been tied up with the other sort of the woke reasoning, as you say. So I'm sure as part of the rebrand, we will get the whole thing about having to tell more diverse stories, you know, talking to people perhaps of a migrant background or people who were working class, for instance. I do believe that that's part of what they're going to be doing, is that the exhibits are going to be focused far more on people who say were transported to Australia or from the Caribbean and things like that. And you kind of shrug your shoulders and you go, well, it is all part of history in the round. But until the thing is actually there and you can see whether or not it's one of those things that wags its finger and goes, oh, slavery happened, slavery was bad, and you ought to feel bad about it, we don't know actually how woke the rebranding is. I'm prepared to sort of take them at face value and say, maybe Bristol Dockyards gives a better overall view than, you know, just the name of the ship. But still, some of the reasoning is a bit concerning.
I hope we all understand, but by the time that SS Great Britain was built, by the time of Brunel, by the time of steam, we had abolished the slave trade. We were the first country in the world to permanently abolish the slave trade. Perhaps that should be a bit
You've
of this...
spotted the flaw.
Yeah,
Benedict, thank you so much, as always. Political Benedict, commentator Benedict Spencer. But don't go too far. It's Good Afternoon Britain. We've got lots more coming up, including a tribute to artist Davy Hockney, who has died aged 88.
Well, that's all after the weather.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time.
But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Friday, the 12th of June. I'm Dawn Neeson.
And I'm Tom Harwood. Well, the Prime Minister's leadership is plunged into turmoil once more. Defence Secretary John Healey and Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes resigned from Sir Keir Starmer's government, accusing the Prime Minister of putting Britain in danger by failing to find the money needed to defend our nation. Well, speaking to GB News earlier, Al Carnes told us why he stepped down.
I resigned for two reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the Defence Investment Plan was transformative enough. And the second one was because of the Legacy Act. And I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served. So we've got to get the balance right. But the first principle, unifying role of any government, is to protect the nation. And we need to...
So, will the Prime Minister receive the message and increase defence spending?
A day after losing his Defence Secretary, his Armed Forces Minister, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer comes out fighting, saying he will secure a defence deal to keep us safe.
But where's he going to find the money for it? Because Britain's economy has contracted for the first time in 8 months. Yes, new data shows GDP shrunk by 0.1% in April.
And in some good news, maybe, a pill version of the blockbuster weight loss drug Wegovy is set to go on sale here in the UK.
Elsewhere, England fans are being warned not to hang St George's flags. Council's attempts to maintain a welcoming and cohesive community feel.
And as you can hear, the Scots have arrived for the World Cup. Footage shows fans checking into an Airbnb, celebrating the only way they know how, with bagpipes at 6:30 in the morning.
And today we'll be paying tribute to the artist David Hockney, who's died at the age of 88. Well, Hockney has been described as one of the most important figures in contemporary art in both the 20th and 21st centuries. It's not going well for the Prime Minister, is it?
Have you seen the front pages, Tom? I mean, you wouldn't want to be... I wouldn't want you to be Prime Minister either, but you wouldn't want to be Prime Minister at the moment, either. Because basically the Daily Mail sums it all, but God help us, basically. That's not even a political comment. That is just like, no one knows what's going on, what they're doing, why they're doing it. And...
I did quite enjoy the sum, though. Tanks, but no tanks.
Yeah, that's very clever, isn't it? That is very clever.
Oh, but no, it's honestly... It just seems like we lurch from crisis to crisis. The Health Secretary's resigned, the Defence Secretary resigned, the Safeguarding Minister resigned. I mean, it's been, what, 21 resignations?
No, go on, 22.
22 resignations.
In 23 months.
Oh, that's more than one
not all
month.
resignations, some just, appointed by Starmer. 22 have left the government in 23 months. In fact, Cairns was the 7th one to go this month. 7th month alone. I mean, that is going some. Did you ever...
It's just a bit careless, isn't it?
To lose one is careless. To lose 22, I mean, who had that on their bingo card?
And that's just the ministers, because let's not forget the senior civil servants that Keir Starmer sacked trying to save his own skin, the communications director, I think he's on his 4th communications director now, his 3rd chief of staff. I mean, he's just rattling through people. At some point, the Prime Minister might need to look around, the dominoes falling all around him, and think, is it this person's fault? Is it this person's fault? Is this... Maybe at some point Keir Starmer needs to take a semblance of responsibility for his government.
Don't be silly. I think he's going to be looking very closely at Rachel Reeves at the moment, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah?
I think she could be the next one under a bus. Passing bus.
But this is the thing, they were so close. I mean, that for the longest time it was thought that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves were sort of two peas in a pod. If one of them goes, the other goes. Remember with Liz Truss, when she sacked Kwasi Kwarteng, it was only days later that she herself had to go.
I think that tends to be the pattern. I mean, you do patterns and graphs and things more than I do, but if a Prime Minister gets rid of the Chancellor, then they are probably following out the door.
It's not just getting rid of their Chancellor, it's getting rid of the next-door neighbour.
Indeed. Well, I mean, we've all had those sort of neighbours. Come on, we've all been there, haven't we? But let us know what you think about the mess we're in. I mean, we are trying to cheer you up. It is a Friday afternoon as well. We are going to have some fun at some point. gbnews.com/your say or scan the QR code. Join in the conversation. Let us know what you think about the mess we're in at the moment. Defensive. Are you worried about your safety in this country? Are you worried about where we're going? Are you worried about how much money is being spent on defence or the lack of how much money is spent on defence? So let us know what you think. We will read as many out, and we always say we definitely will. All of that coming up after your news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Dawn, Tom, thank you, and good afternoon. Your headlines at 1:05. British artist David Hockney has died at the age of 88, according to his publicist. Hockney, from Bradford, West Yorkshire, died peacefully at his home yesterday, 1 month short of his 89th birthday. The painter was one of the most influential and recognisable British artists of the 20th and 21st century. Sir Keir Starmer is facing fresh pressure after Armed Forces Minister Al Carnes followed John Healey in resigning over military funding. The former Defence Minister said he could not defend a level of investment he believes is inadequate to the threat Britain faces. Speaking to GBNews this morning, Mr Carnes said the first priority of the government should always be to protect the nation.
I resigned for two reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the Defence Investment Plan was transformative enough. And the second one was because of the Legacy Act. And I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served.
John Healey had already resigned as Defence Secretary, accusing the Prime Minister and Treasury of failing to properly fund the Defence Investment Plan. Number 10 has appointed Dan Jarvis as the new Defence Secretary. He was seen arriving at Downing Street this morning, while Sir Keir Starmer has insisted the Defence Plan will provide the resources the military needs. Reports have since emerged that the reason for capping defence spending is the government's commitment to net zero and the ballooning benefits bill. However, Sir Keir Starmer's official deputy spokesman insisted that extra cash for the military budget did not need to come from cuts to benefits. Donald Trump has said he cancelled planned strikes on Iran after claiming a deal is now close. The US president said documents could be signed within days and that Iran has agreed it will never have a nuclear weapon. He says the Strait of Hormuz would reopen once any agreement is signed. It comes after the US confirmed strikes on several ships accused of transporting Iranian oil. However, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson told State TV that reports of an agreement were speculative and nothing has been finalised. The economy shrank in April as household finances began to feel the impact of the Iran war. The UK's gross domestic product contracted by 0.1% during the month, according to the Office for National Statistics. It's the first time the economy has contracted since last August and is a sharp pullback from growth of 0.3% in March and 0.4% in February. Chancellor Rachel Reeves acknowledged the war in the Middle East was hitting the economy, saying this is not a war we wanted or joined, but one that will have an impact at home. A pair of Bulgarian siblings have been found guilty of an attack on 2 schoolgirls in Scotland, though the girls had initially been portrayed as the aggressors. GBNews' Scotland reporter Tony Maguire has more.
Ilya Belov and Nadezhda Belova have been found guilty of assault on a group of girls in Dundee last summer, which led to an online video circulating. The court heard how Belov said to the girls, "I'll show you a good time." The girls called him a creep, and so the altercation turned physical. He struck, pushed and shoved one of the girls. She hit her head on a handrail and causing her to pull the knife and the axe from her belt. Belov then called his sister, who joined in on the assault, pulling one of the girl's hair, dragging her to the ground. She earlier had pled guilty at a previous hearing. The girl's account was discredited as far-right misinformation by the likes of the national newspaper in Scotland, former First Minister Humza Yousaf and Police Scotland during the investigations. Belov and Belova will be sentenced in August.
Protests in Belfast passed peacefully last night after 2 days of unrest sparked by the stabbing of Stephen Ogilvie by a Sudanese man. 19 people, including a 16-year-old boy, have now been arrested following the violence in parts of Northern Ireland this week. 30-year-old Hadi Al-Adid appeared in court on Wednesday, charged with the attempted murder of 44-year-old Mr Ogilvie, who lost an eye and suffered injuries to his back and head in the attack. The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, could be set to become the world's first trillionaire. Today, Mr Musk's company, SpaceX, is set to become a publicly traded company worth $75 billion worth of shares sold at $135 each. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for the finance.
Going through the ceiling, finding the floor. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3411 US and 1.1589 euros. The price of gold is £3,139 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 10,426 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 minutes past 1. And of course, we are seeing, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, the slow-motion implosion of this government. The number of ministers who have resigned or indeed been sacked to somewhere in the early days, but also the number of advisors who've gone, the heads of departments in the civil service who have gone. I mean, frankly, will the last person to leave this government please turn out the lights?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. It's 22 have gone in 23 months. That's literally 1 a month. Not bad. OK, well, in the last few minutes, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has told me that he defends hard-edged decisions on defence spending and says it is his duty to carry on as Prime Minister. This comes as yesterday the former Defence Secretary John Healey and former Defence Minister Al Carnes quit over risk with the PM on military spending.
Well, joining us now is our very own political editor, Christopher Hope, live from Downing Street. Christopher, the government's trying to put a brave face on things.
That's right, Tom, and hi, Dawn. The PM has given an interview to the BBC moments ago. He has said this: "I am not going to walk away from that commitment to serve I made in 2024 that I won from the British public," he says. "There was a mandate we as a party won in 2024, leading my party and now me as Prime Minister. I'm not going to walk away from that because I think it's very important that we carry on ensuring we do the right thing. And defence and security," he says, "is the #1 priority for me as Prime Minister, that we carry on doing that at as we stabilise the economy. In this interview he's given today, it's about 2 hours ago, in the building behind me with the national broadcast, the Prime Minister made very clear, he says anyone, whoever's Prime Minister, will face the same problems I've got. He's almost laying out the gauntlet, I think, to anyone who could try and replace him, whether it's Andy Burnham, whether it's Wes Streeting, whether it's even Al Carnes, the former Armed Services Minister, or Angela Rayner. He's saying to them, you'll face the same problems I face, and that's why it's been so difficult. The PM also talked about the number one priority, he says, is defence at the next spending review. So he's almost saying to his backbenchers, yes, we can only afford maybe 13 billion increase in spending now, rather than the 28 billion demanded by the top brass in the military, but wait for the next spending review. We'll try and come back to it then. Asked directly about John Healey's criticism of defence spending, the Prime Minister said this again: we have another spending review coming up before the end of this Parliament. That means before 2029, and defence will be the number one priority in that space. He denied that was a promise of jam tomorrow, which is what many critics will say. It's very important, he said, that when I make commitments on spending on something as important as defence spending, that I'm able to point to how that will be funded. He says, I've tackled it head on, and I've made the decision to reallocate from other departments. That's not easy. What that means in English, really, for many of us, is they will be cutting back a lot of services we rely on as taxpayers. That could be schools, could be roads, education, hospitals even, would you believe it, despite the scale of spending in the NHS, and that money will be put forward onto the defence budget. The problem that might be, it could damage economic growth, and that was put to the spokesman, the PM spokesman at the briefing I went to earlier, and she said there, well, made clear there was always a trade-off in choices, but the number one priority this government has is to keep us safe. The words from the Prime Minister, just dropping now across all broadcast networks, is that he's almost taking on the debate created yesterday by John Healey, the former Defence Secretary, asking why it was that the PM couldn't force the case and make the case against Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, to spend more money on defence. Instead, they're looking right now at cuts, probably in some services that we all rely on as taxpayers to keep us safe.
Christopher, I mean, I just keep coming back to the other announcement this week of spending 4.5 billion on a cycle network. I mean, surely, if it's putting defence first, then you wouldn't be spending 4.5 billion on doing that. I'm a cyclist, I love cycling, but there has to be priorities.
Well, that's right. It's all about priorities. Yesterday, the Treasury was briefing what does John Healey want, cutting the schools or the hospitals budget. Of course, critics would say, well, you could cut, for example, the net zero budget. You could cut, for goodness sake, the welfare budget. Cut the money spent on people not working and spend it on defence. The PM's spokesman has also said this in recent moments. When asked about his record on military funding, he said, I've taken the difficult decisions to make sure we are safe as a country. That's my number one priority. He said he disagreed with senior military figures who said the government wasn't spending enough on defence. He said he'd been in talks with Sir Richard Barrons, of course, he's a general, and General Sir James Everard, the two top military figures running the military in our country. He said this: he has the highest respect for individuals who are quoted as being critical, but he doesn't agree. These are hard decisions, he says, and we are seen as a leading member of NATO. He pointed to the UK's leading role in the coalition of the willing in formulating security guarantees for Ukraine, and the Anglo-French coalition planning for deployment in the Strait of Hormuz to get those oil tankers moving and easing the pressure on fuel prices in this country. So it's very clear the PM believes he's on the right track here. He believes that his critics don't understand that when you're Prime Minister, you're making choices between certain ways of spending. There's no magic money tree, there never was, even when some said Jeremy Corbyn tried to find it. There isn't one. Funding is limited. This government is making choices. The critics will say, why not cut things like welfare rather than other areas of capital spending?
Big questions. Well, Christopher Hope, thanks indeed for joining us and giving us some of those lines from what the Prime Minister has been telling the media in the building behind you. Thanks indeed.
Yes, OK. Let's talk now to former government advisor on political violence, Lord Warney. Lord Warney, thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of what you've just heard the Prime Minister say there? His priority is defence spending. Do you believe him?
Well, he is demonstrating that his priority is not defence spending. If given that the John Healey and Al Khan's has resigned, and his response so far, 24 hours later, is to justify the lack of spending, which there is an almost universal consensus is needed to be able to increase the resilience and security of the British nation in the face of deeply troubling threats, particularly from Russia, as John Healey made clear yesterday in his resignation letter, that there is deemed to be a credible threat that Russia could attack the UK or a NATO member by 2030, and we are not ready. So I hope that Keir Starmer, that Rachel Reeves will pull back from what I think is going to be a deeply damaging course if they go down this, of seeking to justify and not spending the money that the military needs. They need to actually recognise now that the money is needed. They do have to find prioritisation within other budgets to a significantly greater extent than they've already done, and they need to change their position.
OK, well, do stay with us. I want to get your reaction to what the Prime Minister has just been saying in the last few moments. He's come out fighting with an interview to the BBC. Let's take a quick listen.
I'm not going to walk away. I don't think we should plunge the country into the chaos. That defence will be the #1 priority at every spending review, including the next spending review. There's the additional commitment that I made at NATO last year, which was to get to 3.5% by 2035.
Well, those two parts of what he was saying there. Number one, effectively, I'm not going anywhere. To coin a phrase, I'm a fighter, not a quitter. And in the second part there, saying, oh, it's fine. By 2035, we'll get to 3.5%. Although I have to note, in the resignation letter of John Healey, he was saying that's not good enough. 2035 is 9 years away. The threats are now.
Yeah, John Healey is right. And the Prime Minister, if he genuinely believes that, I'm not sure he does, but if he genuinely believes that, he is wrong. And this is a deeply troubling moment for this country, for the whole of the West. And no one pretends it's easy. No one pretends it's easy to recapitalise our investment in the defence sector, which has been over decades eroded because people thought that we were relatively safe and we didn't need it. That assumption was wrong. At the moment, the course that he seems to be suggesting is to maintain a level of complacency and danger in the face of this threat. It is not enough for him simply to claim that defence is his #1 priority when he is flying in the face of the heartfelt warnings from defence chiefs, current and former, that are saying that the UK is dangerously exposed at the moment, and we need to spend further and faster.
John, if I can call you that, why isn't he listening to them? I mean, literally every defence chief, ministers, everybody is saying the same thing. So why isn't the Prime Minister listening?
I think he has listened over the course of this difficult period where you had George Robertson, deeply respected former NATO Secretary General, former Defence Secretary, leading the Strategic Defence Review. He took the Prime Minister with him there, and then you've had this torturous process to thrash out a way to fund that. But he has been too weak thus far to take on the forces within his own party who are not prepared to accept the prioritisation of defence. And you've seen that actually play out in the debacle that we had last year, where pretty modest cuts to the defence budget, to the welfare budget, forgive me, were proposed by and led by Rachel Reeves as Chancellor, and actually the Labour Party, with all its huge majority in the House of Commons, rejected that, and the whole thing collapsed, and therefore the benefits bill is going to be around 5 billion higher than it was. So he's not prepared to actually go and make the difficult prioritisation decisions so far that have that are necessary, and the consequence is we are left at a level of risk which the public are not crying out for defence spending, and I understand that why people want to look at problems which seem to be on their doorstep in their daily lives, but they will not forgive us if this goes on and we do end up in the kind of hot conflict with Russia, with either directly with us or with a NATO ally which brings us in, which will cost be far more damaging, and will be a direct threat to our way of life.
Yeah, it's no one thanks a government for spending money on pandemic planning until a pandemic hits. No one thanks a government for spending money on our armed forces until we're faced with a conflict. But these things are important. Lord Woolney.
John, just quickly and finally, why do you think the Prime Minister is listening more to Rachel Reeves and Ed Miliband than he is to armed forces ministers and indeed voters? Because they seem to be running the country.
Well, on this particular issue, I think he's decided it's just too difficult. It is effectively...
He's in charge, John.
No, exactly. Well... So...
It seems like we've lost... I'm sorry, I think we've got some audio problems there. Sorry, let's just... oh, no, I think we can hear you now. Sorry, if you could...
Can you hear me? I'm not sure what happened. I could hear you okay. I mean, I think effectively he's been propped up by the soft left of the Labour Party, embodied by Ed Miliband, since the resignations that hit him. And you're in this bizarre kind of interregnum period. Everyone is waiting for the by-election next month, and ultimately, if he genuinely does believe and understand this, he isn't strong enough to do it, and that just highlights the fact that actually time is up for Keir Starmer. You can't run a country like this. He is demonstrating. He either demonstrates that he's effectively not in charge, or he tries to make a virtue of this mess, and that actually could be even worse, where if he digs in and says he is right to deny the defence forces of the investment that they need, and try to make that out that this is a principled decision, because that will deprive the UK defence of this desperately needed investment until the point that
and put our armed forces personnel in harm's way, as John Healey suggested. Well, Lord Wolney, thanks indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks indeed for your expertise on this.
Oh, dear lordy, what a mess, eh? OK, this is Good Afternoon Britain. Maybe not quite so good this afternoon, but hey, it is definitely GB News, and there's lots more coming up on today's show.
Paying tribute to British artist David Hockney, who's died at the age of 88. He's described, of course, as one of the most important figures in contemporary art.
All of that and much more to come. This is GB News and Britain's News Channel. We'll see you very, very soon.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 1:30, and British artist David Hockney has died at the age of 88.
Yes, his publicist announced he passed away peacefully at home yesterday, 1 month short of his 89th birthday.
Well, he's been described as one of the most important figures in contemporary art in both the 20th and the 21st centuries.
So let's talk now to art critic Estelle Lover. Estelle, sad news, but what a body of work, what an amazing talent.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much to say about him, and the art world is so grateful to have had him in it. You know, he knew from the age of 8 that he wanted to be an artist, even though his art teacher in the art teacher's report said that, sorry, David, but enthusiasm for art alone isn't enough to make a career. But boy, did he make a career out of it. Painter, printmaker, photographer, stage designer, incredible.
I mean, just the breadth of work, the length of time that he was, I suppose, in the art world, starting in the 1960s and going until very, very recently. I mean, just the most incredible span of a career.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the 1960s and when he painted his pop art paintings and the tea bags, you know, as an artist that was educated at the Royal College of Art in London, where he met Peter Blake and Kit Eye and other great big stars, and then ended up from Flat Cap, being in Yorkshire, ended up LA, West Hollywood, California. And thank goodness he did, because it was the swimming pools there and the lifestyle there that inspired him to render these really highly realistic images using the most vibrant colours in the comparatively new medium of acrylic paint.
And then he progressed on to, obviously, producing this amazing works of art. I was lucky enough to go to the exhibition that he'd done on an iPad. I mean, sort of like, you know, literally transcending so many different ways of producing amazing art.
Using his iPad, you're absolutely right. So the Brushes app on his iPad. Don't forget when the fax machine came into being used many years ago, he used to send his artworks via fax machine. And if you think about the ballets and the operas that he also designed for, he said that he based colours and music side by side because of being born with synesthesia when you see colour in response to a musical stimuli. But probably the greatest artist since Picasso. Very frustrated, though, as an artist. He was frustrated with technology as much as he loved it. He loved the Polaroid camera. Remember those little square images that you could print out yourself? He made collages of them. He loved them, but he felt that the one-eyed approach of the camera let the artist down, which is why towards the end of his life we see him strapping to the front of his Jeep and driving along, strapping 15 or more canvases all together so that he could paint them one at a time and all together stacked up side to side so that you'd get this huge 15 by 40 foot view of the landscape.
Wow. I mean, just the incredible innovation, just the vision. I mean, what a loss, but also what an innings. Yes.
Let me just say this very quickly. Also voted best dressed man over 50. And if we think of his yellow Crocs and his brightly coloured suits and yellow glasses, that's the way to go. Keeps us happy.
It is indeed, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the one thing. His paintings were always so joyful. Estelle, thank you so much. That's art critic Estelle Lovett there. Thank you so much on the sad news that we lost.
I have to say, I've been reminded of a letter he wrote to the Telegraph in 2020.
Right.
Which might interest viewers. He said, Sir, Bossy Boots Hancock and Bossy Boots Boris are suggesting if everyone loses £5, it might save the NHS £100 million. Well, if no one smokes, if no one eats chocolate or butter, cheese and bacon, they might live to 104. But call that living? Bossy Boots always want to take the sweet things out of life, and remember, the ultimate Bossy Boots is a slave owner. The National Health Service has always had to deal with births and deaths, and the final cause of death is birth. Love life.
Oh, what a brilliant way. Yeah, a brilliant tribute. Well done for finding that.
Yeah,
That's
well,
lovely.
I have to thank Madeline Grant of The Spectator for
tweeting
that out.
Thanks, Madeline. Thank you.
But no, absolutely. What a wonderful message. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's lots more coming up on today's programme.
There is indeed. Brace yourself, people. You knew it was coming. Councils across England are urging football fans not to hang up St George's flags during the World Cup. All of that and much more to come after your latest news headlines with Sophia Wendler.
Tom Dawn, thank you. Your headlines at 1:34. Sir Keir Starmer has defended his premiership following the resignation of Armed Forces Minister Al Kant and Defence Secretary John Healey in resigning over military funding. The Prime Minister insisted he would fight any leadership challenge out of a sense of service and duty and not vanity or stubbornness. British artist David Hockney has died at the age of 88. Hockney from Bradford in West Yorkshire died peacefully at his home yesterday, 1 month short of his 89th birthday. The UK economy contracted by 0.1% in April as household finances began to feel the impact of the Iran war. The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, could be set to become the world's first trillionaire. Today, Mr. Musk's company, SpaceX, is set to become a publicly traded company with $75 billion worth of shares sold at $135 each. US pop star Ariana Grande has told the White House not to use her music after it did so in a social media post highlighting its immigration policy, which she called barbaric. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A drier afternoon with some sunny spells around to come, but there will be further showers, particularly across far northern areas. That's because we're closer to this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, high pressure is starting to build in across more southern areas, but there is a waving front bringing some thicker cloud, at least through the first part of this afternoon. But it will start to brighten up from the west, particularly across parts of Wales and northern England, seeing plenty of sunshine too. Remaining quite cloudy though in the south and east, and showers and some quite brisk westerly winds will continue into this evening across the far north. Temperatures will climb towards the low 20s, 23 degrees in the south and east, feeling relatively warm in the sunshine for parts of the Midlands and parts of Wales as well into this evening. So a fairly fine end to the working week. There is a bit of a breeze, a westerly wind into this evening though, and further north into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, there will be more cloud and some quite heavy showers across western and northern areas of Scotland in particular, and the winds remain quite strong here too this evening. Now, showers will continue across more northern areas into tonight. Elsewhere, it remains dry and clear. We could see some mist and fog developing across the far south and west by Saturday morning, but otherwise it's going to be a fairly clear night, which will allow temperatures to fall away a little bit lower than they have done the past couple of nights. So it's going to be a slightly fresher start to the day on Saturday, particularly across southern areas, but temperatures still around 11 or 12 degrees to start the weekend. And high pressure is building in, particularly across the south throughout this weekend. So there will be more sunshine than we've had so far this week and much less in the way of rain. But it's still going to be quite a wet and unsettled day for the far north of Scotland. In particular, showers pushing in on a northerly breeze. So comparatively, it's going to be quite cool up here compared to elsewhere where temperatures climb into the 20s.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A77 is partially blocked northbound approaching Dutch House roundabout due to a road traffic incident. On the A55, both directions over the Britannia Bridge have a speed limit of 30 miles per hour until further notice. In Thurrock, a broken down vehicle is causing delays on the M25 clockwise between Junction 31 and Junction 1A, with one of 4 lanes closed. Additionally, on the trains there is major disruption on South Western Railway between Bournemouth and Weymouth, and Avanti West Coast is affected between Nuneaton and Rugby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 20 to 2.
Sorry, I'm going to have to explain what just happened there. Tom is sharing his sweets with me.
Look, it's a lunchtime programme. When you're doing a lunchtime programme, you can get peckish.
Yeah, so
and
I'm eating Tom's sweets, right? OK.
It's a strawberry lace, a fizzy strawberry lace.
Yeah, which was very fizzy, so it's stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that. Anyway, so now you know. OK, let's do the story that's really going to annoy you today. Councils across England are urging football fans not to hang up St George's flag during the World Cup.
Well, local authorities say permission is needed before flags can be attached to public structures due to safety concerns.
Yes, indeed. But Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has criticised the guidance, claiming fans are being unfairly portrayed as intimidating to migrants.
So should fans be able to hang flags? Well, joining us now is Fly the Flag campaigner James Holmes and the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, Dr Krish Kandir. OK, James, let's start with you. Why should you be able to hang up a flag on a public building?
Well, public buildings anyway should be flying the flag of the country. This is part of a bigger campaign that I believe that all publicly funded buildings and all taxpayer-funded jobs should all have the Union Jack on them, whether that's on a lanyard or whether it's on your security pass. It should certainly be on your pay slip, which I know would be electronic now. Everybody should be able to see where their money is going.
OK, and so, Krish, what's wrong with it? I mean, I have to admit I live in East London, and when the Palestine flags were hung up, they were left there for months. No one said a word. They were hung from lampposts and public buildings, etc., etc., etc. However, you know what's coming? When an England flag was hung up, they took it down straight away. So if one flag is damaging to the public property and you need a licence to do it, why doesn't that apply to all flags?
So look, I'm really excited that football is definitely coming home this summer.
Right.
It's happening. I'm ready. 3 lines on my chest and all that. I think it's different. If I want to put an England flag on my house, that's my right. I can do that. Totally fine. I think what we've seen is an organised campaign, not to celebrate England's football, but actually to celebrate, I guess, the flag, but it's often put up in places where there are high numbers of immigrants, and it's attached to public buildings. Yes, it's put on lampposts, on roundabouts. The campaign was organised by a guy called Billy Allison, who apparently is facing a murder charge at the moment. So this isn't an act of patriotism. It's actually a deliberate attempt to intimidate areas where there's high immigration. And that's really sad, because look, our whole England team, half of them have immigrant backgrounds, whether that's good old Bukayo Saka, who's born in Ealing but from Nigeria, Eze, also Nigerian background, Mark Guay from Ivory Coast. This is an opportunity for us to come together and recognise, if you call yourself English, whatever your background, wherever you've come from originally, it's a time we can come together and celebrate our amazing football team and our great country.
OK, James, what do you make of that charge that this is being targeted?
What he's just said is completely untrue. At the end of the day, people are displaying the flags all around the country. I've had that one said to me. He said, oh, they was put up near the immigrant hotel and near the mosque. So I said, oh, was they? What about these giant ones on my building here? The 2 biggest ones in the world. So what you've just said is completely untrue. What you're actually doing is you're anti-British racist, anti-white racist.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
it. Excuse me a second. Excuse me a second. I didn't interrupt you. So, what country do we live in? We live in Britain. It is the flag of this country. I'm not bothered what the council officials say, because ultimately, council officials should be more concerned about what the council taxpayers who pay their wages actually think, rather than about immigrants. Now, anybody can always name a few very successful people from other countries. I've got no problem with other people coming from other countries, the same way as when I travel the world a lot. But what you're actually trying to do by saying it's about what we should be attracting is the skills that we need and high-skilled labour, not open borders that allows anybody to come in, and not the idea that, oh, I feel sorry for these immigrants. Because guess what? If they were intimidated by the flag of this country, then why did they choose to come to this country? What you're doing, and I've heard this many times before, it is typical, as though you're speaking on behalf of people that you do not represent. And this is not a question on your colour, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that. But generally speaking, because I get quite a lot of this, because I drive around in a car that is all union jacked up, it is white, middle class, ne'er-do-well, virtue signallers, and people who are in university, one that I got yesterday, who've done nothing in their life, thinking that they speak for everybody else. If you look at the ratios on my Facebook, 80% of all the thumbs up and love arts, and about 10 to 20 are negative connotations. That shows across the thousands and thousands of people that see my stuff, the great British public see the common sense.
OK, James, we've got to let Krish come back in there. There are a few charges. Krish, your chance to respond.
Look, I've got a brick here. Bricks are brilliant. Bricks help us build hospitals and they help us build schools. It's all about context, though. If you see me walking down the road at 3 a.m. in the morning carrying a brick, you might be a little bit nervous. It's the same with a flag. When it's England playing in the World Cup, let's get the St George's crosses out. I'm happy to wear one. I'll wrap myself in it. But when you put them up outside an immigration hotel, and you've seen the pictures, it's not hard to Google, there they are.
Have you seen the pictures of mine? Are they near an immigrant hotel?
James, let Krish finish. Krish.
So when you put a flag up near an immigration hotel, it's a flex. It's a sign of intimidation. It says you're not welcome here. I think the flag can be a rallying cry, particularly when we've got a World Cup or a royal wedding or something. Let's get them out. Let's get people cheering. Football can come home. We can find some common ground, but there's a way to use a flag that is deliberately trying to intimidate, and I'm not up for that.
OK, James, do you accept that there have been some instances of unsavoury individuals trying to jump on this flag bandwagon?
I think you could say that about anybody. If a lot of immigrants don't feel welcome because they see the flag of our country, good. Go to another country. We're too strong a magnet for them. So that's fine. Don't be welcome. Go. But you're trying to mention a couple of specific cases like immigrant hotels. But if you look on the photos that was on the lead up to this article, that was people just doing it around blocks of flats and around their own houses. So you just want to cherry pick. Well, if we're going to cherry pick, why don't we look at what's just happened in Belfast? Oh yeah, that was a great immigrant. Okay. Why don't we look at what happened with Lee Rigby? Why don't we look at Alex Ruda-Cabana? Why don't we look at the terrorist attacks of the last 20 years where they've all been committed by? They haven't been by white British people.
Okay, Chris.
So this is just nonsense that you're coming out with. I'm happy for us not to be as welcoming. That does not mean that I hate immigrants. That does not mean that I wish any harm on them.
Okay.
But what I am definitely against is the dilution of the British identity for this kind of woke nonsense.
Okay, we're running to time now. We started with you, James, so we're going to give a final quick word to Krish.
Look, I think our flag is a wonderful symbol. I want to celebrate it. We have a fantastic country. And just as in the England team, people from different backgrounds, different colours of skin can celebrate our brilliant country. That's what I'm for this Football World Cup. And I do believe football's coming home. Let's celebrate together.
Okay, Chris, just one final quick question for you. Why have you got a brick on your desk?
Because I thought they might be useful for our interview.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
For metaphorical purposes. Welcome, James Holmes, Krish Kandir. Thanks indeed for joining us. That's all we've got time for today. Thank you. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Now, after a cold, wet start to June, temperatures are set to rise.
Yes, thank God for that. A powerful El Nino has formed in the Pacific, evidently.
Well, if you're in search of some holiday sun, perhaps you won't need to go anywhere at all. But just in case you might, here's the weather in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Looking ahead to the weekend and across much of southern Europe, the weather's looking largely fine. Not totally dry, however. Across some parts of Greece, especially towards the south and around some of the Greek islands, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain around. 1 or 2 showers across parts of Italy, otherwise largely dry. Largely dry for much of Spain, just towards the west. Outbreaks of rain, these affecting Portugal too, but towards Madeira and the Canary Islands, it's looking dry here. More fine and at times hot weather to come into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
And I've been an oncologist consultant for over 45 years. I've seen it all. When we started 45 years ago, everybody got chemotherapy after getting a diagnosis of breast cancer if there was to reduce the risk of it coming back. And then what we've seen over the years, and this is really the culmination of years of effort, tests that predict what's going to happen. They analyze the molecular composition of the cancer, very sophisticated analysis based on DNA and genes to predict what's going to happen. So only the women that are at the highest risk actually need to have the chemotherapy. And everyone is really delighted with this British trial in London's University College Hospital. What the trial showed is that once you actually get the diagnosis from this sophisticated test, you don't need to have chemotherapies.
GB News. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Mini is the best British car ever, apparently, Anna.
It is indeed. It has beaten Land Rover, Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce and even Jaguar. So this is Auto Express had a poll and crowned the lovable Mini as Britain's favourite car.
But the Mini's not the Mini anymore, is it? They're big.
It's big.
They're really big. They're big cars. They're nice cars, though. But they're big.
Oh, I'd rather have an Aston Martin.
Would you?
Who makes the Mini?
Oh.
Mini, BMW now.
BMW is... I think it has BMW engines, but they're still made in Oxford, outside Oxford.
Yes, the plant is there, but I just wonder how many bits come from China. 'Cause I think quite a few do.
It's all very odd, yeah. BMW make the Minis, Mercedes are the smart cars, all that. It's all interlinked.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
A lot of the AI stuff that I've seen is visually very, very impressive. It just happens to be in performance a bit monosyllabic, not having things delivered quickly to you that you didn't have to unpick. I think that's very good for the human heart, the human soul, and the brain.
I agree that there is a magic that happens when creatives get together. Now, we are replicating that, but with a different process. And it doesn't mean by any stance that we eliminate human creativity. In fact, we do more of it. We spend more time being creative, and we produce this stuff independently, so we didn't have to go out and raise development money and raise financing and wait, right? Those things take years. I've had many shows in development. They take so long. We just went out and did it.
The People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 8 minutes to 2 o'clock, and after a cold, wet start to June, temperatures are set to rise.
Blooming freezing yesterday, wasn't it? In any case, a powerful El Nino has formed in the Pacific, with meteorologists warning the weather pattern could drive extreme conditions across the globe.
Well, what does that all mean? Let's speak to the meteorologist John Ketley. John, tell us about El Nino.
Well, I'm going to let you down very gently, Tom. It doesn't mean to say that as we go through this summer in this country, we're suddenly going to get temperatures up around 40 degrees like we did, say, 4 years ago.
Oh.
It doesn't mean you can now plan your holiday for the third week of August and it'll be beach weather all the way. It doesn't mean that at all. It's really an effect that's going on around the Pacific Rim, around more subtropical and tropical regions of the world. And it's here where we're seeing a reverse of the winds, and we're going to see more intense rainfall in different parts of those regions around the Pacific, not so much in these northern latitudes. So there will be a slight impact, I suppose, more towards the autumn and the winter up here in the north. But generally, I think we're looking at this surge of heat, which is all part and parcel, of course, of this global temperature rise that we're seeing and have seen now for the best part of 30 years. So as I say, I'll let you down gently. We could still have some heat waves, of course, this summer, but not necessarily to do with this.
John, El Nino, it's not a new thing, is it? This has been going on for forever, basically.
Well, I think the climatologists go back to about 1950s for first pinpointing this effect. El Nino Southern Oscillation, which is a reversal of the winds across the Pacific and around the tropical regions. So normally you get the trade winds blowing in from the east. That becomes halted, and you see the warmer weather around the western side of, say, South America, and increasing the rainfall there, because you're seeing the higher temperatures of the sea, which is going on right now, rather than the chillier winds down the western side of South America. It also means that you could well get some more stormy weather across southwestern parts of the states, Texas, and that sort of area.
OK, well, John, let's hope it's all sunny and relatively calm. But that's it for this hour on GB News. Stay with us. Let's have a look at the weather in shorter order now.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. A drier afternoon with some sunny spells around to come, but there will be further showers, particularly across far northern areas. That's because we're closer to this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, high pressure is starting to build in across more southern areas, but there is a waving front bringing some thicker cloud, at least through the first part of this afternoon. But it will start to brighten up from the west, particularly across parts of Wales and northern England, seeing plenty of sunshine too. Remaining quite cloudy though in the south and east, and showers and some quite brisk westerly winds will continue into this evening across the far north. Temperatures will climb towards the low 20s, 23 degrees in the south and east, feeling relatively warm in the sunshine for parts of the Midlands and parts of Wales as well into this evening. So a fairly fine end to the working week. There is a bit of a breeze, a westerly wind into this evening though, and further north into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, there will be more cloud and some quite heavy showers across western and northern areas of Scotland in particular, and the winds remain quite strong here too this evening. Now, showers will continue across more northern areas into tonight. Elsewhere, it remains dry and clear. We could see some mist and fog developing across the far south and west by Saturday morning, but otherwise it's going to be a fairly clear night, which will allow temperatures to fall away a little bit lower than they have done the past couple of nights. So it's going to be a slightly fresher start to the day on Saturday, particularly across southern areas, but temperatures still around 11 or 12 degrees to start the weekend. And high pressure is building in, particularly across the south throughout this weekend. So there will be more sunshine than we've had so far this week and much less in the way of rain. But it's still going to be quite a wet and unsettled day for the far north of Scotland. In particular, showers pushing in on a northerly breeze. So comparatively, it's going to be quite cool up here compared to elsewhere where temperatures climb into the 20s.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is now 2 o'clock on Friday, the 12th of June. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
I'm not going to walk away. I don't think we should plunge the country into the chaos. That defence will be the #1 priority at every spending review, including the next spending review.
I will not walk away. That's what the Prime Minister said as his leadership is plunged into turmoil once more.
Yes, as Defence Secretary John Healey and the Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's resigned from Sir Keir's government. Speaking to GB News earlier, Al Khan's told us why he stepped down from his position.
I resigned for two reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the Defence Investment Plan was transformative enough, and the second one was because of the Legacy Act, and I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served. So we've got to get the balance right, but the first principle, unifying role of any government, is to...
Yes, this lunchtime, the Prime Minister has vowed to
plough on in number 10. But does anyone now think that that claim is realistic? Find out more with me very soon.
Well, Belfast awakens after a third night of protests. This as it's revealed the asylum seeker charged with attempted murder was a policeman in his home country of Sudan.
Yes, a quieter night in Belfast last night. The PSNI working alongside community leaders to try and bring things to a close. Will that hold, or will tempers fray again over the weekend? We'll have more throughout the programme.
And England fans are being warned not to hang St George's flags as councils attempt to maintain a welcoming and cohesive community feel.
Meanwhile, as you might be able to hear, the Scots have arrived for the World Cup. Yes, footage shows and displays the audio of fans checking into an Airbnb celebrating the only way they know how. Bagpipes at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's a lovely way to wake up. And we'll be paying tribute to artist David Hockney, who has died at the age of 88. Hockney has been described as one of the most important figures in contemporary art, both in the 20th and 21st centuries.
So, do you think Scotland's going to win the World Cup, Dawn?
No.
Why
Next.
not? What?
No, because, well, I don't think... look, don't all hate me at once, but I don't think England will win it either.
What?
We are third favourites. We are behind France and Spain.
No, this is the year.
So we are in with a shout.
Do you know why I know this is the year?
Go on.
We've never had a German manager before.
No, that's true.
And the Germans are better at winning this than we are.
Yeah, I mean...
This is 1996, but, I mean, clearly the problem with 96, right, was we didn't have a German manager. And now we have one. It's the final missing piece, can't you see?
I really want it to happen. I mean, we've been talking about downbeat, depressing news all morning, haven't we? And it would be lovely to have the feel-good factor in the country.
Yeah. Well, there is a political myth that the reason Harold Wilson won the 1966 general election was because of that World Cup victory. But it is just a political myth because the World Cup victory, the timing doesn't quite make sense, and he was already Prime Minister to start with.
But I've got something that might stump you. I mean, you know how hard it is to stump Tom Harwood, don't you? Right?
And it's incredibly easy, just anything about sport.
OK, I know, that's why I'm doing it, right? OK, do you know the names of the three mascots? There are three mascots, one for Canada, one for Mexico and one for America, the three host countries. Name them.
Name the mascots of each of the countries. Yeah. OK, what's a very Canadian name?
Think of a Canadian animal.
Oh, it'll be a beaver.
No, it's a moose.
Fine, a moose.
You can have a beaver as well, but it is a moose.
It's a moose.
It's a moose,
okay.
Yeah.
So so it's a moose in.
It's called Maple the Moose.
Of course, it's called Maple.
Why wouldn't it be?
Oh, amazing, brilliant. Okay, it's going to be an eagle. It's going to be Eddie the Eagle in the United States.
Oh, it's called Clutch, the bald eagle.
Okay, fine.
Me neither.
What's a Mexican animal? Some sort of bird, some sort of flightless bird.
Think of a car.
I think of a car.
Yeah. Jaguar.
OK, it's a jaguar.
Yeah.
A jaguar's native to Mexico?
Well, evidently, yeah.
I thought they were rainforest animals.
The jaguar is called Zayu.
Zayu the jaguar.
Well, there you go.
That's not even alliterative. Mexico do better.
It's a font of information on this show, isn't it? But I have actually stumped Tom Harwood on some facts, which is my whole reason for being here today.
I think Maple the Moose is the best of those three.
If it was a beaver, be careful. What would you have called it?
Betty.
Betty the Beaver. That's quite cute, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, do send your comments. What should the mascots have been called? gbnews.com/your say. We'll get to all of that and some more serious news too after your latest news headlines with Sophia.
Tom, Dawn, thank you and good afternoon. Your headlines at 2:05. Sir Keir Starmer has defended his premiership following the resignations of Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's last night. Khan's followed his boss, John Healey out of his government over a lack of funds for the military in the coming defence investment plan. Speaking to GB News this morning, Mr Carnes said the first priority of the government should always be to protect the nation.
I resigned for two reasons, really. The first one was I didn't think the funding settlement or the defence investment plan was transformative enough. And the second one was because of the Legacy Act. And I want to make sure that we protect all our armed forces, including our veterans, once they have served.
Number 10 has appointed Dan Jarvis as the new Defence Secretary. He was seen arriving at Downing Street this morning, but Sir Keir is still without an Armed Forces Minister. Reports have since emerged that the reason for capping defence spending is the government's commitment to net zero and the ballooning benefits bill. But the Prime Minister has defended what he called hard-edged decisions on defence spending. Speaking in an interview with the BBC today, Sir Keir insisted he would fight any leadership challenge out of a sense of service and duty and not vanity or stubbornness. The economy shrank in April as household finances began to feel the impact of the Iran war. The UK's gross domestic product contracted by 0.1% during the month, according to the Office for National Statistics. It's the first time the economy has contracted since last August, and it's a sharp pullback from growth of 0.3% in March and 0.4% in February. Chancellor Rachel Reeves acknowledged the war in the Middle East was hitting the economy, saying this is not a war we wanted or joined, but one that will have an impact at home. Protests in Belfast passed peacefully last night after 2 days of unrest sparked by the stabbing of Stephen Ogilvie by a Sudanese man. 19 people, including a 16-year-old boy, have now been arrested following the violence in parts of Northern Ireland this week. 30-year-old Hadi Al-Adid appeared in court on Wednesday, charged with the attempted murder of 44-year-old Mr Ogilvie, who lost an eye and suffered injuries to his back and head in the attack. A pair of Bulgarian siblings have been found guilty of an attack on two schoolgirls in Scotland, though the girls had initially been portrayed as the aggressors. GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire has more.
Ilya Belov and Nadezhda Belova have been found guilty of assault on a group of girls in Dundee last summer, which led to an online video circulating worldwide showing one of the girls brandishing an axe and a knife. The court heard how Belov said to the girls, "Hey, they're sexy, I'll show you a good time." The girls called him a creep, and so the altercation turned physical. He struck, pushed and shoved one of the girls. She hit her head on a handrail and causing her to pull the knife and the axe from her belt. Belov then called his sister, who joined in on the assault, pulling one of the girl's hair, dragging her to the ground. She earlier had pled guilty at a previous hearing. The girl's account was discredited as far-right misinformation by the likes of the national newspaper in Scotland, former First Minister Humza Yousaf and Police Scotland during the investigations. Belov and Belova will be sentenced in August.
British artist David Hockney has died at the age of 88, according to his publicist. Hockney from Bradford in West Yorkshire died peacefully at his home yesterday, 1 month short of his 89th birthday. The painter was one of the most influential and recognisable British artists of the 20th and 21st century. The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, could be set to become the world's first trillionaire. Today, Mr Musk's company, SpaceX, is set to become a publicly traded company with a $75 billion worth of shares sold at $135 each. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 2:10.
That's the time.
Time's flying. That's why I said it like that.
Time is flying and time is also ticking for the Prime Minister. Yes, Sir Keir Starmer, however, has told media he defends hard-edged decisions on defence spending and says it's his duty to carry on as Prime Minister.
Well, this comes as yesterday the former Defence Secretary, John Healey, and former Defence Minister Al Carnes quit over risk with the PM on military spending plans.
Well, let's head to Downing Street now and speak to our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Because, Olivia, the Prime Minister is putting a brave face on things, but it does seem like it's all collapsing around him.
Well, absolutely, Tom. It does feel as though the Prime Minister's grip on power is getting shakier and shakier. The resignation of John Healey and Al Cairns comes as a huge blow to Keir Starmer. John Healey has always been seen as a safe pair of hands in Downing Street, an arch loyalist to Keir Starmer, but he has resigned because he just doesn't feel that the defence investment plan is enough to keep the military sustained in Britain. This lunchtime, Keir Starmer has vowed to plough on. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
I'm not going to walk away. I don't think we should plunge the country into the chaos. That defence will be the #1 priority at every spending review, including the next spending review. There's the additional commitment that I made at NATO last year, which was to get to 3.5% by 2035.
Of course, before any potential leadership election, the first massive issue that Keir Starmer faces is what to do about that defence investment plan. First due to be published last autumn, then due to be published this week. Now it's all looking very shaky indeed. Dan Jarvis has been appointed the new Defence Secretary. He is looking at the defence investment plan now. Will he be willing to simply rubber stamp a plan that his predecessor John Healey said would make the country less safe? Or will he be wanting to make expensive changes to it? Either way, neither the Keir Starmer nor Dan Jarvis have very long to decide. We have been told again and again that we're going to see that defence investment plan before the G7 summit, and that is now in just a few weeks' time.
Thank you so much. That's a GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley in Downing Street for us.
Well, let's speak now to the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell. Bill, this does seem like it is the end of days for this Prime Minister. How can it not be?
I think that may well be true. Look, I hugely regret John Healey's resignation. He was a solid, effective and reassuring Defence Secretary, and he'd done a hell of a lot to repair our armed forces from the horrific mess that they were left in by the last government, where, to take just one example, the size of the army was cut from 100,000 to 72,000. And we've got defence spending back up to 2.5% of GDP. But given the scale of the challenges, we need more. And look, you know, I'm a former Minister of State for the Armed Forces, and I get the Treasury's scepticism about the Ministry of Defence because, bluntly, the Ministry of Defence is hugely wasteful of money. But there clearly was a need for more. My understanding was the gap was 18 billion that John said was needed and 13.5 billion that was promised. I can't believe, I mean, £4.5 billion is money down the back of the sofa in public spending terms. And I can't believe that the Prime Minister didn't have the authority to drive those resources through. And I think that is the fundamental problem and why we may be at the end game, because Keir is a decent public servant, but his written authority doesn't drive the government. And that's why I think there needs to be a timetable for a leadership change, and we need that very quickly.
Bill, you mentioned the £4.5 billion. You say it's small change compared to what the government do spend on things. But that's exactly the same amount of money they have just spent on a cycle network across the country. Look, cycling, great, fantastic, we love it. But at the moment, surely priorities. Is Keir Starmer deliberately just not seeing the priorities here, or is he stupid?
No, I don't think he's stupid, but he's not imposing his authority. Look, you know, historically, and I've been at the centre of that when I was a defence minister, there is legitimate scepticism from the Treasury about the way in which the Ministry of Defence spends money. Procurement wastes tens of billions of pounds. So I get the scepticism.
Bill, sorry, can I just interrupt, Bill? But when you say, you know, defence wastes money, what about the NHS? What about net zero? I mean, all of these departments were wasting money. Why is defence the problem when we need it more than ever?
I think in terms of management of public resources, the Ministry of Defence stands out. And, you know, there's been Public Accounts Committee reports that the procurement process, because the Ministry of Defence keeps gold plating, changing specifications, delaying the timelines, it adds tens of billions of pounds to the eventual costs equipment and kit. So I get the scepticism, but there are a huge range of new defence challenges, and that gap of just £4.5 billion, if the Prime Minister had the will and the authority, he could have forced the Treasury to drive those resources through, and I think he should have done. And I regret we're in this position, but this is symptomatic of a number of areas where Keir doesn't project his authority, doesn't project his vision, and that affects policy making within government, and it affects communications.
OK, Bill, do stay with us. At this point, we're going to bring in the former Conservative MP and British Army officer, Bob Seeley. Bob, do respond to that challenge that Bill made at the start of this conversation, which is that Labour had a hell of a mess to clear up.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, just one quick correction. The sum wanted for the defence investment plan was 28 billion. And so if we're getting 18 or 13 and a half, those are much, much more significant cuts. And so you're looking at a real and significant downgrade over and above what Bill was saying about potentially spending on the wrong projects. Al Cairns had a very interesting tweet out just recently, a couple of hours ago, following clearly his resignation, where he's saying, you know, the next wars are not going to be won by people buying big, expensive kit, as important as at least some of that is, but it's about coding and software and being agile and being able to make drones in their thousands very quickly. So, you know, I agree with what a lot of Bill says about his Treasury scepticism, but you still have to fund defence properly. But as regards the long-term running down of defence, absolutely. Look, it's been done ever since the 1990s. Every decade, a government has taken a peace dividend, whether it was earned or not, and that includes New Labour, that includes the coalition, that includes the Tories, and only under really Johnson and Ben Wallace did we start to turn it around and start to rebuild capability, and even then arguably wasn't enough. So I'm not going to sit here and try to defend previous governments. All governments since the 1990s have failed defence, at least in some way.
That's a really important point you say there, because Bill, is actually this conversation just about how much we spend on things completely the wrong bucket of fish? Bill Rammell, it does seem like we're operating in a much slower and longer time frame period than actually modern warfare allows for.
I think there's an element of truth in that, and there is an urgency here when you look at what Russia is doing, when you look at threats from elsewhere in the world. And look, to its credit, under Keir Starmer, this government has increased defence spending. It's not a soundbite, it's true. It's the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. But there are further challenges, and we need to go quicker and faster. And that's why, I mean, look, you know, the Strategic Defence Review reported, almost a year ago, it shouldn't have taken that long to will the means and will the resources to effectively implement the plan. And that's why I regret where we are. But certainly once the funding and the resources are released, the Ministry of Defence needs to spend more effectively, more appropriately than it has done historically.
Bob, coming back to you, we are where we are at the moment. We've heard Keir Starmer saying this morning that he's determined to fight on. He's not a quitter. But where does that leave us? Where do we end up with this one?
Look, it's very difficult. Sorry, is that for me or for Bill?
Sorry, that's for Bob.
Okay, look, in my opinion, I think Starmer's been toast for some time now, and the only reason that people aren't making a bigger thing out of Healey quitting is because they assume Starmer's gone anyway after next week. I don't necessarily assume that Andy Burnham is going to win, because it might be that voters in Makerfield are going to be thinking this Labour, show is just a joke on whatever level, whether it's Rachel Reeves, whether it's Healey resigning, whatever. I mean, there's 18 resignations in the last couple of years for a variety of reasons. I think Starmer's going to face a challenge anyway, and it's either going to come from Burnham, but if Burnham doesn't win, it'll come from somebody else for sure, because we can't go on. And clearly it is chaotic, and structurally the serious point here is if you're a prime minister and you can't get your chancellor to do what you want, and Ed Miliband refuses to give up any money than net zero, then effectively the people running our country is not Starmer, who seems unable to push through any decisions, but Rachel Reeves, who is frankly a discredited chancellor, and that's up against some pretty stiff competition in recent years, sad to say. And Ed Miliband and his band of net zero obsessives. So those are the people who are deciding on public spending. And so you have a prioritisation of welfare, of foreign aid, and of net zero over defence. And I think now, I think people are having enough of this.
Bob, I think that's absolutely cogent analysis. I can absolutely see what you're saying there. Is it the fault, though, of Rachel Reeves, who did try to stem the increase of welfare spending, who did, what was it, a year and a half ago now, try to put forward a plan for welfare reform that then was rejected by Labour MPs? I mean, frankly, we've been speaking about who might be the next Labour Prime Minister. They're still going to be the same MPs in Parliament, and it's the MPs in Parliament that have bound the hands of the Treasury in terms of doing their plan A. We're now on plan B, C or even D at this point.
Tom, that's a fair point. They tried incredibly modest, almost irrelevantly modest changes to welfare benefits, and the Labour Party said, not on your Nelly. So you're absolutely right. It's weak leadership and a collective that doesn't take defence seriously.
Well, look, I'm not going to take lectures from Bob about taking.
I'm not giving you a lecture, mate.
Seriously.
I'm just giving you an answer.
So just one at a time, gentlemen. Bill, you were saying.
You know, it was the last Tory government that savaged defence expenditure. When the last Tory government came to power, defence was at 2.5% of GDP under the last Labour government. The Tories cut it, and we've been recovering from that. But look, this does need to be brought to a head. I think whatever happens next Thursday, I think there is going to be a leadership challenge, and I think Keir Starmer, who is a decent public servant, needs to respond to that and set a timetable out for a leadership election and his departure.
OK, well, Bill and Bob, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through this significant issue. Cheers for your time. Now, of course, it's not just Andy Burnham standing in the Makerfield by-election. That's going to take place next week, in the 18th of June. It's only fair that we tell you who the other candidates announced.
Yes, indeed, you've already heard Andy Burnham, the Labour Party, Alan Howlin Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party, Robert Kenyon, Reform UK, Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain, Michael Winstanley, the Conservative Party, Jake Austin, the Liberal Democrats, Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party, Peter Mark Ward, the Rejoin EU Party, Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party, Ed Gemmell, Climate Party, Robert Powell, Independent, and John Alfred Dyer, Independent.
As well as Paul Richard Gould, Independent, and Count Binface of the Count Binface Party. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Yes, indeed. 2 people have appeared in court in relation to charges tied to disorder in Northern Ireland following that knife attack in Belfast. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very soon.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 2.
Oh, God, I could tell you what he was just doing, but then he would probably kill me, to be honest with you. In any case, 2 people have appeared in court in relation to charges tied to disorder in Northern Ireland following that knife attack in Belfast.
Well, it comes after 3 nights of unrest that saw homes damaged and properties set alight, as well as 12 police officers injured.
Yeah, OK. GB News Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie is in Belfast for us. Doogie, it looks very calm and indeed sunny there today. What's the update on this story?
Well, it is sunny and windy, I can assure you. But yes, Belfast has got pretty much back to normal. We're at the back of the City Hall. The businesses are open once again. The sightseeing buses are coming through. And, you know, everything just seems as if nothing has happened. Most of the debris has been cleared away. Of course, the houses that were set on fire have been boarded up. But last night there was 2 protests, both largely peaceful, one in East Belfast in D Street, of which there was small skirmishes afterwards, and one in Glengormley. Now, there was a house that was an attempted firebombing on last night. We believe it was an HMO on the Shore Road, but really nothing on the scale that we have seen. And that's because yesterday, during the day, the PSNI spent a lot of time with community leaders, talking to them, trying to get people calmed down, and really those people have been promised that politicians will now get into this space and try and look at their concerns. But of course, as we've said all along, this is more than about the knife attack. This is about the amount of illegal immigration coming in from Dublin on the EU border, which today is now controlled by the EU rather than Ireland itself. Today, the EU have took control of how many immigrants must come into the Republic of Ireland. Borderless border. We found out, of course, the man alleged of that assault came in, a policeman in his own country, flew to France, into Dublin, bus straight up the road, no checks, and here he was housed in an area that is already struggling for social housing. That is the story right across all these deprived and working class areas, and it's been that way for years. This has been brewing for years. Now the politicians must get into this space and must look at this if this is going to keep a lid on it in the next few nights.
Dig, I mean, you obviously know this, but, you know, Northern Ireland's foreign population has risen at almost twice the rate of the level of the mainland Britain, and race crimes are at a record high. The politicians have got to do something. Northern Ireland can't carry on like this. It's just going to happen again, isn't it?
Yes, and what's happened here is they've all been put into one real area, which is South Belfast, which is already deprived, and there's loads of landlords making so much money out of this through a group called Mears that goes in and buys all these rents up. and then puts people into them. So they don't appear on public housing, but that public housing stock has always been subsidised by the private landlords. That's now not available. And what you're seeing is estates here, the likes of Beaver, Rathcoole, huge big housing estates where families have lived for generations. Now this generation can't get a house there, there's no family support, they're in low paid jobs. All those things are coming your way because, of course, England is going to close down those hotels and put them into communities. And if they go into working class communities, you can guarantee that the same thing is going to happen.
A warning there. Well, let's hope that it doesn't, and let's encourage people to express their views peacefully. But my goodness me, Doogie Beattie, thanks indeed for joining us. What a warning there from Northern Ireland.
It is indeed, isn't it? Let's hope the politicians are listening. I'm not holding my breath, though. OK, it has just gone 2:30, and we've got now time for the Great British Giveaway, and it's your chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash.
And that 21 pence is incredibly important.
Really important, that bit, yeah.
Well, here's Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
What did you spend your 21 pence on?
Oh,
There's just 2 weeks left to make your summer sensational, as we're giving you the chance to win a simply stunning £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. That's cash that could go towards family treats, spectacular summer days out, or give you the chance to chill out and relax somewhere like here, the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos. You really could be our next big winner with a whopping £76,543.21 in your bank. But hurry, there's just 2 weeks remaining.
For a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. We're going to take you straight to the United States now, where the biggest listing in US history, indeed in world history, is taking place. Yes, Elon Musk's SpaceX company is listing on the NASDAQ stock exchange. This is the stock exchange that is mostly to do with the technology sector in the United States. But some estimates were that SpaceX could be listed for $1.7 trillion in a valuation. This would make Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. Wow. Well, this listing is taking place as we speak. We can see there Elon Musk, the world's richest man, born in South Africa, became an American, founded Tesla, SpaceX, a host of other companies as well, live at SpaceX HQ there in Texas. Well, SpaceX is a company that isn't just about space. It also owns X, the social media company. It also owns the constellation of satellites called Starlink, that is one of the world's largest communications companies. SpaceX also owns XAI, Elon Musk's AI company responsible for Grok, their large language model. SpaceX is becoming a larger company and perhaps with this listing will be one of the largest companies in the world. It dominates the Earth to space launch market. Indeed, the vast majority of all rockets that are launched privately by SpaceX. The vast majority of satellites in orbit are owned by SpaceX. As the world looks up to the sky, we'll be looking more and more to SpaceX, which has a near monopoly on all of this launch capability. One rocket, the Falcon 9, already in vast operation, carrying huge lift capabilities, but also the Starship in development, which could revolutionize how people get to space and indeed how we may well build a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. That's Elon Musk's ultimate goal. Well, next, let's have the news.
Good afternoon. Your headlines at 2:35. Sir Keir Starmer has defended his premiership following the resignation of Armed Forces Minister Al Khan's and Defence Secretary John Healey in resigning over military funding. The Prime Minister insisted he would fight any leadership challenge out of a sense of service and duty and not vanity and stubbornness. The UK economy contracted by 0.1% in April as household finances began to feel the impact of the Iran war. British artist David Hockney has died at the age of 88. Hockney from Bradford in West Yorkshire died peacefully at his home yesterday, 1 month short of his 89th birthday. There's the headlines for now. Sam Francis will have more for you in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A drier afternoon with some sunny spells around to come, but there will be further showers, particularly across far northern areas. That's because we're closer to this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, high pressure is starting to build in across more southern areas, but there is a waving front bringing some thicker cloud, at least through the first part of this afternoon. But it will start to brighten up from the west, particularly across parts of Wales and northern England, seeing plenty of sunshine too. Remaining quite cloudy though in the south and east, and showers and some quite brisk westerly winds will continue into this evening across the far north. Temperatures will climb towards the low 20s, 23 degrees in the south and east, feeling relatively warm in the sunshine for parts of the Midlands and parts of Wales as well into this evening. So a fairly fine end to the working week. There is a bit of a breeze, a westerly wind into this evening though, and further north into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, there will be more cloud and some quite heavy showers across western and northern areas of Scotland in particular, and the winds remain quite strong here too this evening. Now, showers will continue across more northern areas into tonight. Elsewhere, it remains dry and clear. We could see some mist and fog developing across the far south and west by Saturday morning, but otherwise it's going to be a fairly clear night, which will allow temperatures to fall away a little bit lower than they have done the past couple of nights. So it's going to be a slightly fresher start to the day on Saturday, particularly across southern areas, but temperatures still around 11 or 12 degrees to start the weekend. And high pressure is building in, particularly across the south throughout this weekend. So there will be more sunshine than we've had so far this week and much less in the way of rain. But it's still going to be quite a wet and unsettled day for the far north of Scotland, in particular showers pushing in on a northerly breeze. So comparatively, it's going to be quite cool up here compared to elsewhere where temperatures climb into the 20s.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Motorists should remain vigilant crossing the A9 Dornoch Bridge due to strong winds. The A5 northbound is shut due to a serious collision, with normal flow expected after 4. 2 lanes on the M1 northbound are blocked by an accident, with clearance by 3:15. Gloucestershire's M5 northbound faces delays from a crash. The M11 southbound is closed after a collision, with traffic normalising shortly after 4. And on the trains, the South Western Railway service between Bournemouth and Weymouth is disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is coming up to 20 minutes to 3 o'clock. And yay, the World Cup has kicked off with 2 games down, another 102 left to play.
Well, thousands of Scotland fans are travelling to the tournament ahead of the nation's group opener against Haiti on Sunday.
Yeah, so let's talk to sports broadcaster Chris Scudder now, because I quite like football. You like the SpaceX thing. Chris, talk to me about something sensible like football, because otherwise he just keeps talking about SpaceX and things I don't understand. So, how's it going so far?
I was just thinking, who's Elon Musk supporting in this World Cup? South Africa or the US? Good question, isn't it?
Good point, yeah.
Because South Africa were absolutely useless last night. They really were. Embarrassed the country. And I think, you know, for a football mad nation, they were really disappointed. They got well beaten by Mexico and, you know, it looks like they're not going to get through. But I suppose Musk supports the US now, doesn't he? I guess. I don't know.
I would imagine he does. But Chris, frankly, Scotland is playing Haiti on Sunday. They're surely going to win that one.
Listen, they have to win that one, I think, because they got Brazil and Morocco, two very good teams in the group. So, but I think, you know, because of this new format with 48 teams and 3 go through from 8 of the 12 groups, if you win one game, you're pretty much there. And Scotland will think, on paper, that they should be better than Haiti, who've only been to the World Cup, well, last time was 1970, I think it was. However, Haiti beat New Zealand 4-0 in a friendly the other night, and they're used to the sort of hot, clammy conditions we're going to get in Boston. So, I don't know, all bets are off, really. I mean, I think it's a tricky one for Scotland, but, you know, and as long as they've got their heads right, I think they should just have enough quality. But I just hope the fans get there. I was at the embassy the other day, and I met a Scottish guy, big, traditional-looking Scottish guy, huge, long beard, who'd had his ESTA revoked and he didn't know why. There's so many people like that, and he resigned to not having to buy a new flight, miss the game, and get there next week. So for people like him, we just hope that they win and they can, you know, continue a bit in the competition.
And Chris, this is a very unusual World Cup. I don't think we've ever had 3 host nations at the same time, and we had one opening ceremony, the first one last night in Mexico. How do you think it went?
Listen, I mean, Mexico, a great football nation. I've been to the last 8 World Cups, and I've got to tell you, traditionally, you know, it used to be the Europeans who travelled everywhere and lots of England fans. But in the last couple of World Cups, and it started in Russia, there were Mexicans everywhere. Whether this was to do with visas, I don't know, but there were Mexicans everywhere, and they loved their football. And as you saw last night, I mean, it's a shame in many respects that the final's not being played at the Aztec, because they've just rebuilt that. And it is the most iconic stadium in world football, probably. And there's a reason for that, because in 1970, it's where Pelé won the World Cup, where Brazil won it for the 3rd time in that amazing final, and Pelé was just marvellous. And in 86, when Maradona did exactly the same, and of course, they won it, and that's the Hand of God Stadium as well, which we shouldn't mention. But England could be playing there, by the way, in the second round if they win their group. And that would be, listen, that will be, if you're going to win the World Cup, you've got to do it the hard way, haven't you? You've got to face all the big teams. For England playing Mexico away in that atmosphere, that's going to be quite something, isn't it? A real test, but that's going to be a few weeks away, yeah, if England win their group.
Real test, although some controversy online about that initial match, having quite a few empty seats. Not many home fans in Mexico being able to afford the very, very steep prices, and then empty seats in the stadium.
Yeah, I don't think it was that one. I think that the Mexico game is pretty much sold out. It was the one last night. It was the game South Korea versus Czechia, Czech Republic, whichever you want to call them. That was in Guadalajara. So both those games in Mexico. I guess, you know, FIFA, listen, we all know they've made a bit of a hash of the pricing on this. And, you know, we saw it last night. The official capacity was 45,500, and they said there was 44,985 there, I think it was. There clearly wasn't. So, you know, I mean, sometimes the way tickets are distributed and marked as sold, it doesn't always tally. But I think for some of the group games, for the smaller ones, when you see, you know, they're not very fashionable nations playing each other, I reckon they're going to be half empty, and that will be pretty embarrassing for FIFA.
OK, Chris, I think England are still 3rd favourite after France and Spain, I believe. When's our first game coming up?
Next week against Croatia, you know, team we should beat, really. We owe them for the semi-final defeat in Russia. But yeah, it's a few days away, and they're looking good. I mean, all the stories we're hearing is that this is the most together England team ever. Gareth Southgate sort of got that going, and Tuchel has made a real big play, hasn't he, of not having, you know, lots of great individual players, which is where I think, you know, France are going to fall down. whisper it, but we're a team, and we are a team. And Portugal, I think there are a few whispers that they're not either. So listen, the best teams win trophies. So fingers crossed. I mean,
so England versus Spain.
I wouldn't bet against it, honestly. I wouldn't. In that final week, but a long way to go yet, and there's bound to be shocks. But all the big nations go with all these expectations, and there's always something that goes unexpected. And the conditions. There's talk about El Nino hitting parts of the States next week, isn't that right? Yeah. I mean, anything could happen, frankly. But it makes great telly, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, Declan Rice has already got told off by his mum for getting too sunburnt, bless him. So some of the distances that fans and teams have to travel and the weather conditions, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've written a book about this, Underdogs and Newshounds, where the travel aspect of World Cups is the very best thing about it. These people who don't go because I'm not paying for the ticket prices, you don't need to go to the games. Honestly, the fan zones are brilliant, and you meet friends from all over the world who are in the same boat as you. They can help. They put you up on their sofa or something like that, and you end up with amazing stories. And you come back with the memories of being at a World Cup. And there's so many things that can go wrong. The path of the nation you're following suddenly changes because they didn't win their group or whatever, and you have to travel 1,000 miles somewhere else and got to be back at work on Monday morning, and you can't be, and the wife's expecting you back, all that kind of thing. And the Scots are going to be, this is going to be a lot of, they're already there, aren't they? But it's such a common thing, not just from these islands. People from all over the world do the same, and it's a great experience.
Yeah, wonderful atmosphere. Let's hope it all goes well for both Scotland and England. Thank you so much, Chris Scudder, sports broadcaster there. Thanks so much for the magic of the World Cup.
And for more magic, it's only 3 minutes now until we learn just what that IPO listing is for SpaceX. Just how much of a trillionaire is Elon Musk set to become? Well, that's, just 3 minutes away. We will know. But in the meantime, if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, not as far away as space, well, here's the weather in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to the weekend and across much of southern Europe, the weather's looking largely fine. Not totally dry, however. Across some parts of Greece, especially towards the south and around some of the Greek islands, there will be some showery outbreaks of rain around. 1 or 2 showers across parts of Italy, otherwise largely dry. Largely dry for much of Spain, just towards the west. Outbreaks of rain, these affecting Portugal too, but towards Madeira and the Canary Islands, it's looking dry here. More fine and at times hot weather to come into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I retired from swimming after Paris 2024 Olympic Games. The main reason being that I just couldn't financially support myself swimming anymore. So I retired at 24 years old and then started working in the corporate world. And then to go to your point, how I got involved, I had a former teammate who joined the enhanced games, and he called me and was like, there's a spot on the team for a butterfly swimmer. I said you'd be a good fit. So I just got speaking to him and then spoke with the enhanced team and kind of moved on from there.
The lines aren't crossing, are they, between proper, I say proper, and with respect, when we look at Olympic sports, etc., where drugs are not allowed, this is almost a completely separate thing, right? And there's no blurred lines between the two of them.
We're in a different league. We're doing something completely different, right? Are we swimming the same events? Are we running the same events? Yeah, but we're not competing against the athletes in the other league.
GB News, Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
3 legendary builders have become internet cookery stars by knocking up hot dinners in their transit van. It's White Van Scran. Let's now speak with the builders, Nathan and Pedro Moore and Archie Price. Lads, you become internet legends. Pedro, you're the chef, and I believe you're about to knock us up some White Van Scran. Over to you.
I'm going to do a quick omelette for you right here, right now.
Quick omelette.
This is how we do it. Straight in pan. Are we classed as legends then?
Yeah, you're legends, mate. So tell us what's going on here. You're pouring, what is that, batter? Here you go. You chop it up at pepper, with a Stanley knife?
Yeah, so now straight in. Fresh blade. Every time.
All right, and what's going into this, lads? What are you doing for us here?
Salt, pepper, onion, garlic,
Really, it's like easy fun cooking. You put whatever you want in it.
The People's Channel. GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Sheldon Junior School in Derby, they noticed that children were failing to develop adequate social skills, and coaching youngsters in chat, etc., was important. I really do think we've got 1 million young people out of work right now, and I truly believe because of mobile phones and because of social media and because people are stuck in their bedroom, they are losing the art of conversation, and I think it's tragic.
Families should be talking.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's been such a huge shift because this is a primary school, and they're basically saying don't give smartphones to primary school aged children. Wait till they're in secondary. But I would say that most parents are thinking that now. Millennials, we're much stricter about screen time, much more so than say the generation before us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 9 minutes to 3 already, and golly gosh, have we got a treat for you. It's time for, drumroll please, Tom's whiteboard moment. Now, Elon Musk could become the first trillionaire as SpaceX makes stock market debut. So Tom is going to draw a rocket for us. Take it away, Tom.
Well, I'm going to try and explain what SpaceX is. It's set to become one of the most valuable companies in the world. But it's not just about rockets. Everyone will be aware. OK, well, it would be really nice if Elon Musk could could help us out with our tech here, because I'm trying to draw a rocket and we're not able to. What is going on? I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid our very own, let's see. No, we're not. I'll try and explain what's going on with SpaceX without any visual aids. How disappointing. It's 3 companies, really. It's a rocket company, it's a communications company, and it's an AI company, all in one. It controls 84% of the commercial launch market in this country. It controls more than half of all launches in the world. It also has 2/3 of the satellites orbiting the Earth. This is basically the dominant space player. And the bet that many people are making today is that space is going to be a much more important. It's debuted at I'm just being told in my ear. This is debuted at $174 per share. That's up from the original price of $135 per share. That's a considerable increase. It's a certainty now that Elon Musk is a trillionaire with his rocket company, his communications business, and his AI company. This is a significant moment.
I drew a rocket. Can you see that? Any case, thank you so much, Tom. That was very nearly absolutely brilliant. Thank you for your company. Good afternoon, Britain, but don't go anywhere because...
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A drier afternoon with some sunny spells around to come, but there will be further showers, particularly across far northern areas. That's because we're closer to this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, high pressure is starting to build in across more southern areas, but there is a waving front bringing some thicker cloud, at least through the first part of this afternoon. But it will start to brighten up from the west, particularly across parts of Wales and northern England, seeing plenty of sunshine too. Remaining quite cloudy though in the south and east, and showers and some quite brisk westerly winds will continue into this evening across the far north. Temperatures will climb towards the low 20s, 23 degrees in the south and east, feeling relatively warm in the sunshine for parts of the Midlands and parts of Wales as well into this evening. So a fairly fine end to the working week. There is a bit of a breeze, a westerly wind into this evening though, and further north into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, there will be more cloud and some quite heavy showers across western and northern areas of Scotland in particular, and the winds remain quite strong here too this evening. Now, showers will continue across more northern areas into tonight. Elsewhere, it remains dry and clear. We could see some mist and fog developing across the far south and west by Saturday morning, but otherwise it's going to be a fairly clear night, which will allow temperatures to fall away a little bit lower than they have done the past couple of nights. So it's going to be a slightly fresher start to the day on Saturday, particularly across southern areas, but temperatures still around 11 or 12 degrees to start the weekend. And high pressure is building in, particularly across the south throughout this weekend. So there will be more sunshine than we've had so far this week and much less in the way of rain. But it's still going to be quite a wet and unsettled day for the far north of Scotland, in particular showers pushing in on a northerly breeze. So comparatively, it's going to be quite cool up here compared to elsewhere where temperatures climb into the 20s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.